Welcome to the Grumpy Guy BJJ podcast with James Wilson and Rob Eikhoff.
Semi-seconds in automatic minutes, finishing to diminish the position that was given reason.
All right, so we're back with another episode of Grumpy Guy BJJ. Your co-host James Wilson here with my buddy Rob Eikhoff. Rob, how's it going?
It's going good, James.
Excellent, man.
Friday morning.
Yes, it is. We're back on our normal schedule after weekends of multiple recordings and then not recording and then recording on Sunday. Is that what we did last week?
Sunday afternoon.
So, yeah, get back on schedule. Which
feels a little more normal.
It does.
I like it.
It does, yeah. Yeah, Friday morning's good. Good time for us. Gives me an excuse not to work. And I'm always looking for a good excuse not to work.
This is work, sort of.
This is work, but yeah, it's not work.
Not work.
So
being that we don't get paid for it at all.
Yes, no. We were joking, it's a startup because it costs money, but we're not making any money. So that's what, by definition, what I figured out a startup is something that's not actually making any money yet. So we're partners in a startup, bro.
I like it.
Yeah.
Makes me feel hip.
It does. It makes me feel hip, too. I was going to grow my beard out. When I came back from... Oh, you missed my Telluride beard. Did you...
No,
you saw it. You saw it. That's right.
We talked about it.
Came back Friday.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because then when you came to class on Saturday...
It was gone.
The Telluride beard was gone.
It was, man. Yeah. I shaved the day before I left, and then I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to shave until I'm done with it. Kind of like the old, sports team getting through the playoffs thing. I'm not going to shave it till the
rally beard?
End. The rally beard, exactly, man.
Did you change your underwear the whole time, or did you go 3 weeks?
I changed underwear. I'm not that.
You weren't committed then.
No, not to the rally, bro. It was a metaphor.
Oh, I got you.
So, anyways, but the beard was starting to bug me a little bit, and then doing jiu-jitsu, beards and jiu-jitsu are an iffy combination, collar chokes and stuff like that. We were joking, talking to Wolf Shirt, and I was like, man, sometimes I'm reaching for that cross-collar grip, and I'm trying to work my way around his beard, and don't always do it, though, so.
No. I try a little bit when we're training with somebody that's got a beard to not grab it, but if they're willing to have it, and the situation arises, I don't stress myself that much about it. Now, if it's a new guy, a new white belt or something, I'll cut him a little slack.
Yeah.
I'll try not to grab a handful of it, but
yeah,
if it's Wolf Shirt or Mauler, when Mauler used to have the...
That's right.
He used to have the ZZ Top beard.
That's right.
I did not hesitate to grab a handful of that thing if it got in the way.
That is funny. I forgot about that one. So, yeah. Anyways, beards.
Anyways, that's a random first subject.
Random first subject for sure. So anyways, but yeah, we're back on track this week. And we're talking about, we're funny because we run everything through the jiu-jitsu filter. And it's I almost said this, you called me, it was a couple days ago, and you're like, what are we going to talk about? And I looked at him, I have my little note card, man, and I looked at it and I was like, almost said, man, we should talk about, because we both read that Jordan Peterson book and the 12 rules to live by. And so, I know we both run it through the jiu-jitsu filter, so I was like, we should talk about that and just kind of, some of our thoughts on how some of that stuff applies in jiu-jitsu. But I didn't, and then you call me back
20 minutes
later, and you're like, dude, we should do the Jordan Peterson book. And I was like, no way. That's what I was thinking. So
well, I don't know why I didn't register sooner, because I called you and asked, hey, what are we going to talk about? And you just said, hey, well, why don't we've both finished a couple books lately, why don't we talk about that? And I was like, whatever. And then ended the conversation. I get cruising down the road, and I was like, well, fuck. Let's do the 12 Rules for Life, the Jiu-Jitsu edition. And I called you back. I was like, why didn't this just come to, right to top of mind right away? I don't know.
Oh, man. Yeah. Some Jedi mind tricks that made you think of it.
You made me. Oh, I see what you did.
Yeah.
You made me.
If it had been my idea, you would have thought it was. You'd been like, I don't know, but I made you think it was your idea.
Fuck you, James. That's what I'm gonna say to that. I got tricked. I got honey-dicked into that idea.
Honey-dicked into that one. No. But anyways, yeah, that'll be fun. But I was telling you that, and extreme ownership is similar in that the chapter titles are kind of the principles that they that they go over, and I literally had written them out on note cards and have them sitting on my computer desk because I want to kind of keep those things top of mind. So yeah, when you brought it up, or you're like, yeah, let's do that, and I was like, yeah, I got the note card sitting right here that I look at every day to kind of remind me. Even went made out a version for Shiloh and had her put it up in her room. I was
Nice.
like, you need to look at these things every day and, you know, just have them top of mind. These are the rules you need to try to live your life by. So anyways, yeah, I'll be interested to hear your takes on some of this stuff. So anyways, my freaking leg got hurt, man. Wasn't able to train last night.
Oh, what happened?
Strained my calf rolling with the fucking Amish destroyer.
To Trey?
To Trey, man. Yeah. It was funny. We were rolling, was it Wednesday night? Which I got a buddy of mine that tried out jiu-jitsu that wanted to talk about. Yeah, I'm rolling with Trey. We're doing some no-gi rounds after everybody was done with the gi. And, I don't even know what happened. I got no clue. That's right. I got him my closed guard, and I tapped him with the pit stop shoulder lock. And so, you know, we slap hands, and everybody comes a little harder after they get tapped out. It's fucking human nature. I knew we had like 45 seconds left, so he's coming, and I'm like holding him off, and the buzzer rings. And I go to get up, and I'm like, dude, my fucking calf. I don't know, like, if I took like a heel kick to the back of my calf or what, man. But it is like, like, it hurts.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Did it feel like a pulled muscle?
No, man. It's really weird. It's not like, like it hurts to touch.
Huh.
And it doesn't feel like I can stretch it, you know. And I'm like, man, I'm beginning to wonder if I fucking tore something.
Is it up in your calf or down like by the Achilles?
It's like in the calf,
up in the meat
man,
of the
belly.
Up in the meat of the calf.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm just like, I don't know what, and I guess I need to do more ankle mobility. But I know it's kind of bummed. I couldn't train last night.
And there wasn't like a specific
No.
thing, like you got to it afterwards. You went to go get up.
No, he didn't. You know what I mean? He wasn't like he didn't do anything weird or anything at all. It was just, you know, it's one of those like, hey man, he's coming hard trying to pass my guard, and I'm, you know, doing my thing. And yeah, there wasn't like a moment or anything. But as soon as it was done, I went to get up, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, like, what's going on here? But so anyways, man, it sucks. Fucking injuries. I just got back. I was all pumped to get back in rolling, and a freaking mysterious calf injury. I think he fucking chi blasted it or something, man.
Dude, it sucks. Because, when you get into a good rhythm and then, boom, you get dinged up. You got to take a little time off.
Yeah. It's not like getting better at a rate like where I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be back at it like, you know, by tomorrow or whatever. I'm like, motherfucker, like, is this going to be a couple of weeks until I can get back in it? And like I said, it was just one of those weird things, man. Getting old sucks.
It does suck.
Get some fucking miles on the body, and it just starts like mysterious shit.
Yeah, shit, you wake up in the morning like, why does that hurt?
Why does that hurt?
Now, does that just hurt because I'm a little dinged up, or is there like something I need to address or be concerned with?
Yeah, man.
And sometimes it takes a little bit to sort out.
Yeah, I don't know. It was fucking... Anyways.
Bummer.
Whatever. I was having fun rolling before that. Fucking all that gi, and then saw Trey sitting over there. I was like, take this gi top off. It's fucking nonsense. Let's go some no gi, brother.
Oh, that reminded we don't have to talk about it right now, but remind me afterwards about gi, no gi for a future podcast episode.
Okay.
Just,
all right. Yeah.
I was jotting down.
Potential.
Yeah, I was thinking about something. We don't really have to discuss it now because I'm sure it'd be super fucking boring for everybody listening. But
no, it's fine, man.
But
we'll discuss it at a future time.
But anyways, speaking of being injured, the fights this weekend, dude, I was super pumped for the Khabib Tony Ferguson fight because I'm on the Khabib train, and dude,
he on your fantasy team?
Dude, he is a monster. Dude, I love that dude. I mean, he's terrifying. He's like this mythical Russian creature that just destroys everybody. But he was supposed to be fighting Tony Ferguson.
Is he really 25-0?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but he was out for a while. Like he came in, mollywopped a couple guys, and then he got hurt. Then he missed weight a couple times. Like, dude, he walks around at like 190 pounds. Like, he starts his fight camps at like 190, 195, and he's fighting at 155. Yeah, he's a freaking monster. Yeah. But anyways, he was supposed to be fighting Tony Ferguson, who is an Eddie Bravo guy. You know, 10th Planet.
Yeah.
Kind of a weirdo. And freaking it was on like April 1st, like last Sunday or Saturday, whatever, the April Fool's Day. He got hurt. He was like in the Fox studios walking through, and he tripped over some cables, and he tore his LCL, like tore it like off the bone. And like he had to go to I guess this is all obviously what I'm reading on the internet and listening to in interviews. You know, he went to his doctor, and his doctor was like, "Yeah, you're fucked up. You shouldn't fight." And I guess he was gonna fight, and he went to the UFC doctors. They did an MRI. Like, no, dude, you cannot fight. And so that's it. So then last minute replacement Max Holloway, who is a bad motherfucker. He's got a chance to win, man, but he's smaller. I mean, he's 100. I think he's a champ. He's 100. Yeah, he's a 145 pound champ.
Yeah.
So he's fighting. He's fighting up a weight class.
Yeah.
So he's going to be smaller than Khabib. And on 6 days' notice, he wasn't in training camp. He didn't have a fight coming up. Like, dude, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he could shock the world. I mean, he could definitely shock the world and win.
He could, man.
I like I say, I'm on the Khabib train. I hope he just fucking runs through him, dude. The dude's terrifying. He was the guy. I know you don't watch a ton of fights, but like, he was the guy who was beating the shit out of Michael Johnson last time. I mean, he had him like down, kind of like in top half guard, just beating the shit out of him against the cage.
Yeah.
Talking to him like, "You must give up. Just quit now. I'm going to win." Like, they had the audio of it. I'm like, oh, that's so. But his broken English and the thick Russian accent, just like, "Give up now. I must destroy you." And that's what this fucking dude does. And, I love it. But anyways.
Nice, man. Yeah.
I was bummed. Ferguson's out. It could be a good fight. I mean, if Max Holloway wins, man, like he's got this opportunity to like shock the world. I mean, no one expects him to win. You know, fighting Khabib on 6 days' notice, up a weight class, all the odds are stacked against him. So it's a win-win situation for him. If he goes in there and just gets fucked up, that's what everybody expects. Yeah. But if he goes in there and wins, like, holy shit, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
So, good for him. And I'm sure he's getting paid.
He's got nothing to lose.
No, he's got nothing to fucking lose, man.
Yeah.
Except for some years off his life. if Khabib just... Because Khabib's not going to knock him out. He's just going to take him down and just fucking punish him. Just break him mentally and just fucking just... Oh, dude, I love the way he fights. He just breaks people, dude.
Bully jitsu.
He does. He just bullies the fuck out of them. It's amazing. I love it. But anyways. I'm not going to really watch... I'm not gonna watch the fights this weekend. I got some other shit, but
yeah.
But then you got Rose Namajunas and you go on a rematch. That'd be
good, man. Yeah. That was a fucking shocker. I wasn't expecting. We were watching.
Yeah, we watched it here.
Yeah. When she beat her the first time, I definitely was not expecting that.
You think she can do it again?
I don't know, man. That's the hard thing because so much of this shit we've talked about before is confidence, and like, man, once somebody's fucking knocked you out once, that's hard to, because it's not even like a skill thing, you know what I mean? Like, maybe technically Joanna's better than her, but dude, she's got to fight the chick that knocked her the fuck out, and
you wonder how that plays mentally.
It's hard. It's almost impossible for it not to. I mean, it's that rare, but I mean, if anybody can, like, Joanna strikes me as that kind of athlete that can just be like
shut that out.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter, man. Like, just compartmentalize it to that degree. But we'll see, man. 'Cause I was just about to say, like, for me, it's hard for me to keep up. Like, I'm not this big UFC nerd because it's hard to fucking keep track of people because, you have your players, but, there's next big things come in, and really, like, the champs, most of them do not stay on top very long. And that's what's interesting is it seems to be like once somebody loses the championship, like, they get out of the mix. You know, again, there's that exception, but it's usually like someone will win it, you know, maybe hold it for a fight or two, and then they lose it, and then they're still kind of in the mix for a second, and then they're gone. And it's just this like this churn rate that MMA creates. You know, it's cool, you know, but like boxing, like everybody knows what the fuck you're gonna do with boxing, right? Like boxing it's someone may do it a little bit better or whatever, but nobody's surprising anyone with a different combination of things. But like with MMA, you've got so much different shit going on. Then you got styles. You know, someone who can have just a killer style against 99% of people comes up against someone with that one style that just is their fucking antithesis. And so it's such an interesting thing, but that's why it's hard for me to really like nerd out and keep track of like who all the MMA UFC folks are.
I agree with you, because back when I was really into watching fights, there was only like 4 big fights a year or 6.
Yeah,
you know, and there was very few. You know, and then you had the UFC and you had Pride. Really, that's all you had. And so you would get a fight every other month or something. Like it would, and so it was easy. And there wasn't a shit ton of fights to keep track of and a shit ton of fighters.
Yeah.
Now, dude, like you got big cards like this, you know, and then the pay-per-views are at least $60 a pop.
Yeah.
So unless you're going over your buddy's house, like I'm not dropping $60 to watch that fight. You know, so unless you're pulling some money in, like, okay, I'm not going to watch it. But then you got fights like every weekend. You got fights on Fight Pass. You got fights on Fox Sports 1. Dude, you can't even fucking keep track. It's like,
yeah,
if you have other shit going on in your life, how are you supposed to keep track of all that? Like, okay, there's so many fighters. It's almost, like, I enjoy the sport. I like to watch it. But, dude,
me too. Yeah.
You have to put forth too much effort to stay on top of it. I feel, you know, like, you really do. Like, there's just so much shit going on, unless that's your job,
right?
Or you're writing articles on it, or
if that's your deal, you're an aspiring MMA fighter,
or
and that's
something.
your thing. But
yeah, there's just so much shit going on. And then if you don't have cable, so then you can get, then you got to get a subscription to Fight Pass, and then you can get the pay-per-views and whatever's on Fight Pass, which usually isn't great fights. And then you're trying to figure out how to watch the fights that are on Fox Sports 1. Like, you gotta have, just like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like, I don't have time to deal with this, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's frustrating.
It's frustrating. Like,
it's frustrating,
man. I just give up. I mean, it's funny to talk about that. Remember when we were kids and you could probably name every movie that was out in the movie theaters?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we all knew. We were all watching the same goddamn movies. You know, like when Die Hard came out, it was like, dude, I was like one of fucking dozen movies maybe that were out in theaters, and you knew what they were, and now it's so much shit. And then you throw in Netflix and Amazon and all the other stuff, and like honestly, like my reaction to it is like, okay, I can't care anymore.
No,
I can't care anymore. So like I actually watch less. I watch fewer movies now than I did when I was a kid, because like I don't even pay a fucking lick of attention to it, because the amount of mental energy required to try to pay attention to it is so vast that it's like I just won't spend any on it. And so I end up like knowing less and caring less than before. But
I wonder if, I feel the exact same way. There's so much content out there, movies, whether you're going to the movie theater or your Netflix, your Hulu's, your Amazons. There's so much shit that sometimes you just get overwhelmed. Like, you just want to sit down and watch something.
It's stupid, man. When you spend 15 minutes clicking through Netflix.
Jesus Christ. And then you spend 15 minutes going through Netflix. You're like, okay, nothing really piquing my interest. Let's go Amazon. Let's see what's on Amazon. So
3/4 of the same shit.
Yeah. And then you have an hour invested where you haven't watched a single fucking thing.
Nothing.
Because you can't decide what to watch. And then you just get frustrated and throw the fucking remote control and go do something else.
Oh, dude, I know, man. It fucking pisses me off.
I don't know if that's an age thing. We're
getting
old and grumpy, or if there's just so much content.
It's a scientific, psychological phenomenon that, one, like, the confused mind says no. That's just a basic thing. And they've done this study. They've done a few studies, but one of the more famous ones was looking at jellies. They set up a display with a new jelly in a supermarket, and people could try it out and then buy it. That had a special going on, and one of the displays had 4 flavors of jelly, and the other one had 24. So which one do you think did better? Which one do you think sold
The one with
more?
the 4.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like people, like the more variety you gave somebody, the more confusing it was, the tougher it was for them to make a choice, the more like kind of buyer's remorse that they would have, like, oh, this one, but I might want that one. And so they ended up just saying no and walking away from the whole thing versus like, yeah, the 4 choices, and it was like very easy for someone to figure out, oh, I want that one and I'll be happy with that choice, and okay, I'll take that, and they were happy. And so this idea that more options are desirable for people is not true. Like, we think we crave variety, and this is something that I saw in like training all the time, is, you know, people think that they want variety, but they don't. If you gave them a completely new workout with completely new exercises, it actually is like confusing and frustrating to them. So like, what, you know, I would find that there was, you know, 20-30% of exercises I would change. You know, I'd change sets and reps and order and things like that, but I would keep a lot, you know, basic exercises, so there was this thread of continuity for people, and it would make it less confusing for them while giving them just that little bit of variety. But man, you see the same thing in jiu-jitsu. We think that like we got to teach people a fucking million different techniques, and then we're afraid they're going to get bored. Right, like, 'cause I was coaching the basic class on Wednesday, and we were doing armbar from closed guard, and I even started to fall for it. Like, man, I think, you know, some of these guys are going to get bored. I should show them something else or another little variety. And I was like, no, man, it's like just show them the details. I had to keep reminding myself, like, if I confuse these guys, I'm going to lose everything. And variety tends to confuse people. So anyways, I know that's like way off of the Netflix thing, but no, it's
on the same vein.
It is, yeah.
Because anybody who's been in jiu-jitsu for a while, you start teaching class, you will fall into that little wormhole.
Yes.
To where you're teaching beginner classes, you know, a few times a week, and you are getting bored teaching the same thing.
Yeah.
And so you assume your students are getting bored. That's not necessarily the case.
No.
And you throwing more at them because it's interesting to you just muddies up the waters.
Yeah.
And then they're not going to retain anything. Then they're going to get discouraged or bored there.
Yeah.
They're like, Jesus Christ, he showed me 10 techniques tonight. You know,
Yeah. We talk about this with the seminars, right?
Yeah.
The seminars can kind of tend to be that way a little bit, where it becomes a little overwhelming because we think that like they need the variety. If the more I'm giving them, the better the more they're gonna get out of it. But yeah, it doesn't work out that way. As I heard once, like you tend to be your own worst enemy as a coach because you get bored of the basics. Like that's it. As soon as you get bored of the basics, it's going to show up with what you're coaching and what you're teaching your people, whatever sport you're in. And as we know, like the basics are like that's what wins. So yeah, variety is overrated. So that's why I laugh when everyone's all like, oh, it's so great, there's all this stuff on TV or, you know, Netflix and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, it is not. Like, it's going to be too much at a point. There's going to be a rebellion against all of this content. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but like we can't handle it. Humans are not made for all of this, you know. Like, there's going to be a point where it's going to start losing money. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it doesn't seem like it's
sustainable.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's not at a sustainable pace right now.
No.
It's just skyrocketing, dude.
Yeah.
Just more and more content every day, and more apps, and more, like, Amazon's making so much money, and Netflix, so they're all producing their own shows now instead of just buying shows from other platforms. And man, there's just so, you just don't know. Like, Jesus Christ, there's so much shit going on. It's sensory overload. It's the same way I feel when I go to Las Vegas. That's why I hate Las Vegas. Because you walk into a casino, man, and it's just like ding, 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 ding.
Oh, yeah.
People all over, and fucking slot machines and this and that, and lights. Like, dude, it fries my brain. Like, I don't do well with it. There's just too much shit going on. Like, okay, that's enough. Like, I gotta fucking back out of this and go someplace way quieter.
Yep.
It's kind of the same idea.
Yeah, and then they've done a brilliant job of convincing people that they're missing out if they're not consuming that content, you know. So, because everyone's talking about the same shows or watching this new thing, or have you seen that? And so you start to think that like, oh, I'm the only person who hasn't seen Black Mirror or whatever it is, and you start, so people are, the whole like binge watching thing is insane to me. You know, like I've been guilty of it myself, but like man, the fact that you would just dedicate like 6 hours of your life on most of the time I end up binge watching, it's like this unconscious thing that I get sucked into, and then I realize that I've done it and I'm mad at myself. but to like sit down and just be like, all right, I'm camped out here. I got 6 hours and fucking 6 episodes to get through. Let's go. It's I was like, oh my God, man. Like the mentality, like, you know, we're going to touch on with the Jordan Peterson book, but like what you aim for determines what you see. And it's like, what the fuck are you aiming for? What is your aim in life that allows you to see that as a viable option and a good fucking thing to do with your life? You know?
It was never an option before, and it's kind of a new thing. Yeah, that gets me thinking, because when we were kids, I thought I went through this little transition. That when we were kids, movies were like an hour long, dude. 90 minute was it 90
hour
minute?
And a half.
Yeah, 90
hour and a
minute
half
movie.
to 2 hours. 2 hours was kind of the longest movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I remember movies being an hour, and then they started doing 90 minutes. And
I
then
don't think they were ever an hour.
If they got to like 90 minutes, or if they got into the 2 hour ballpark, like you were like, dude, this is a long fucking movie.
Yeah.
And I remember I don't know how old I was, but I got to a point to where like, because then movies started coming out and they were like 2.5, and they were in the theater.
Yeah.
And so you go sit in the theater for 2.5 fucking hours, dude, and I lose my shit. Like, I remember specifically the movie that like put me over the edge, like this is ridiculous, was it was one of the James Bond movies that came out.
Oh.
And this was a few years back. I mean, this had to have been like 2008, 9. I can't remember when. And I was in Texas with, hanging out with my brother. And me, my dad, and my brother went to see this movie. And dude, I fell asleep. I was like, it was a fucking 3-hour goddamn movie. I was like, dude, I do not want to sit someplace for 3 fucking hours, man.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, they just started taking liberties with our time.
Yeah, that's how I felt like I was getting taken advantage of. Like, you are, like, I don't need this much detail. Like, if I want this much detail in a story, I'll read a goddamn book.
Yeah.
So then I stopped. Like, I wasn't going to movies a lot for a while because they were all at least 2 hours long. And I'm like, dude, like, I don't want to go to a fucking 2-hour movie, man. Yeah. But now it's changed because, these series that come out, like Game of Thrones, or Walking Dead. It's basically like, if it's got 15 episodes, that's like a 15-hour movie. But you can digest it slowly. You can watch an episode, but... So now it's a little different. Yeah, it's a little different form of storytelling, but that's really what it is.
Yeah,
and it's like a 15-hour long fucking movie, man. And I think that's what
over a season.
Yeah, and that's what people, because now you can binge it. Yeah. Now you don't have to wait till the next week for it to come out.
Yeah,
if you're a season or 2 behind, you can just sit down, like you say, and hit play for 6 hours and watch a goddamn show.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
It is. Yeah. It's a totally different thing, man.
Yeah, I think Avatar is a movie that fucking tweaked everything. That was a
pretty long movie too.
That was the one that really just took like the 3D and all.
That was the one with the blue people, right?
Yeah,
flying around the dragons, and they had the magic tree they plugged into.
Yeah,
and
dude.
shit.
I hate to say it, man. I went and saw that in the theater, and I was fucking pretty stony when I got in there, and it was just like, what the fuck, man.
I saw it in 3D in the theaters.
Yeah. That was a movie that I was like, dude, 3 hours, and I was like, what? It's over? That was 3 hours? Like, that was a good movie. And but the problem is it made so much goddamn money, and then all of a sudden that's the benchmark, right? Now everything that comes out has to be this goddamn 3-hour fucking spectacular. And yeah, I think like you're saying though with movies, I've noticed that you still get those, but it doesn't seem like every movie that I go and see now is like 2.5 hours plus long. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think that there's there's a place for both, right? Like I read, and like the two extremes to me are Musashi's Book of Five Rings, where like every fucking word just has so much weight and meaning, and it's just just this tiny little book. And then you got Plutarch's and his Lives of Noble Grecians and Romans, and dude, some of those fucking paragraphs are 3 pages long. You know what I mean? A paragraph. But it's like, they are at the opposite ends of the extreme of just but it's funny, man. There's a place for both of them, but I think you got to have both though. It's when everything starts to go to the extreme of assuming that we all have hours and hours of attention span to give.
That's you see some of these movie theaters changing. We don't have them here yet. We're not in a big enough city, but you go to some of these big cities, and not only you can have reserved seating now. You walk in the movie theater, and then their chairs recline.
I got one here,
and then you can get food delivered to you.
Yeah,
they deliver food to you at that new one, that picture show.
Yeah,
do they deliver food to you?
I think so.
I don't know, but
I'll bet if you just called them up and told them to come, I don't know. It's easier to ask forgiveness than ask permission. I'll bet they'd show up.
Oh no, I'm not okay. I'm not saying like food delivered to the theater by like a pizza place.
Oh, I'm
saying like food, like there's a restaurant in the theater.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like
I'm just gonna have food delivered, man.
You're calling fucking
yo, man. Fourth roll, fifth seat over.
You're calling Grubhub or whatever it is and having them deliver your shit to the theater.
Like, dude, there's a fat tip in it for you.
I'm sure that's happened.
Okay,
well, I'm talking like places that serve alcohol and restaurants.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have like the restaurant aspect to it, but it's got.
But it's coming where you can recline and the whole 9 yards, man.
No, it's a different.
It's a different experience.
And just getting crammed in like you're fucking flying to...
Feet sticking to the floor.
Flying to Vegas on the red eye. kind of experience. Yeah. But, anyway, so... Alright.
On that note... Wise got a couple of pre-show things.
Yeah.
The way our society's going. Have you seen this? Dude, this is fucked up. I don't know if you read into it. That, in China, they have this... the social credit system they're putting into place.
Oh no!
Have you seen this?
I haven't, man. I'm worried.
Oh, dude. So it's called the social credit system. I guess they like announced it back in like 2013 and 14, somewhere in there. But it hasn't really. They haven't pursued it too hard. But it's getting more and more normal. And I guess by like 2020, it's gonna be the deal.
The deal.
So right now. It is a social credit system, so social reputation system, and it's based on like your economic status, your social status, and there's a couple other things, and it's all like government data, and they even have an app in Shanghai called like the Shanghai. I wrote it down, the Honest Shanghai app. It's facial recognition, so I can hold my phone up, scan your face. And it fucking finds the computer, the government data, and it gives you a rating.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, this guy's an 8. Out of like 100. I don't want to fucking deal with him. I don't want to know him. So you stop talking to him. But
we could rig our ratings so that people would leave us alone.
We could.
Dude, that would be the thing. Like, you really have like a rating of 95, but but there's an app that fucking looks at the rating of the person you're talking to and automatically decides their rating's too low. Take my rating. I don't want them to talk to me.
I'm sure someone's working on that. But it's a thing, dude. And that is just like that Black Mirror. There's a Black Mirror episode about that. Have you seen that one yet? It's like season 1 or 2.
I don't know. I forget. I don't know if I've seen that one.
It's a social networking one to where this chick is really... They have like a stars, and like 5 stars is the pinnacle. And she's working her way up, and every interaction you have with somebody, say you go order a coffee, you can rate them and blah blah blah, and so you build this social reputation thing.
God, why would I just? It's the thing I don't understand.
But it's actually happening.
If there's any kid, I don't understand. Why the fuck? I don't understand. Who would think this is a good idea? Like who is signing up for this? I don't know, man.
Well, in China, I don't think they have a choice.
Right.
This
is an example. Everybody who hates guns, like, our guns are the only thing that are separating us from this stupid nonsense being forced down our throats. Like, don't fucking pretend, that our government wouldn't be trying to do some other shady shit. Communist government is forcing this on people, and what do they not have? They don't have guns or any way to fucking defend themselves and tell their government to fuck off.
Yeah, it is just another way to control their masses.
Yeah, man.
Because I was actually researching a little bit last night. they're using some of the social credit rating. Like if you have too low of a rating, they're not letting you take certain flights, or do certain things.
Right.
Yeah,
I just don't understand. This is insanity.
It's scary.
Insanity.
It's so scary.
And like if there's kids like the generation coming up, like you were talking about, like that's not like the Black Mirror episode. I'm supposedly that's not as much like a government enforced thing as much as like an extension of the social networking thing. Like everybody just kind of like, oh, I can see like my rating, so, but God, like to not see the Faustian deal, to not like understand that, man, the devil is sitting there fucking beckoning you with this deal, and to not see, I don't understand. Like I just shudder to think of the intelligence level of the generation that fucking does that and says like, okay, willingly, you know what I mean? Not like this government imposed nonsense, but it's like willingly,
like a social norm,
like inject something in my fucking head so that I can be on this social network thing and just be constantly plugged into this social networking thing. That's just an insane thing to me, because I just always, we've talked about this before, like when the fucking missile coming to Hawaii, and my immediate had a conspiracy theory pop in my head. It's like, there can be 99% great things that come from it, man, but if there's an opportunity for, like, just imagine that you're the motherfucker who gets your rating manipulated for some reason. You know what I mean? It's like everyone's like, oh, well, no, it's great because I'll be able to see whether Bob's an honest guy, and, it'll help me make better decisions, and I won't get fooled by people because, they'll be rated and I'll see. And it's like, yeah, man, but just imagine that like, because there's the opportunity, like if this is for that rating to be fucking manipulated, and now you're I don't know, like that's too scary a thought for me to fucking buy into the other stuff, like all those positives, like we've talked about before, or smartphones. If somebody came up to you 10 years ago and said, hey, we're gonna give you this thing that's gonna give you access to all of this content, and it's gonna be great, and you can carry your music on it and blah blah blah, but you're literally gonna have people who are trying to get you addicted to it, and you're gonna be spending upwards of 4 hours a day looking at it, and it's really gonna have this negative impact on society. You know what I mean? Like if everybody knew all of the consequences and all of the positives at the same time, smartphones all of a sudden aren't as clear-cut a choice. It was this slow creep. The slow creep that happened. And that's just what I see with shit like that, man, is like, dude, there's a slow creep that's going to happen that all of a sudden we're going to look back and be like, holy shit, if we would have known all of the potential negative consequences that came with this, it wouldn't have been as obvious a decision as it seemed at the time. And the thing that just blows my mind is that humans just make these mistakes over and over and over and over again. So, my hope is that they're going to, at some point stop before we...
You may have that hope, like, I'm not necessarily...
But I'm a realist, man.
I'm a realist, dude. Like, I think we'll run this fucking ship right into the rocks.
Right into the rocks, for sure.
Right into the rocks.
For sure.
Yeah, it makes me think about so many things. It freaks me out, like you were saying. Well, first of all, I was thinking about this. We are the last generation, your parents, my parents, and then you and I, that had life pre-internet and now the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Like, your kids, they don't know life without the internet.
No.
And everybody from here forward is not gonna, unless Yellowstone fucking blows and wipes us all out and we're starting from square one. Like, that's a crazy thing to think about. Because life pre-internet was way different than what we're doing nowadays.
Way different.
Way fucking different.
Way different.
And then, like, this whole, like, social credit system.
Or even just having a phone in your pocket. Remember when people couldn't reach you?
Yeah.
And you remember when people expected to not be able to reach you?
Yeah.
Like...
once you walked out of the door, once you shut your front door and walked out,
right,
you were gone.
You were gone. And people understood that. There wasn't this expectation that, like, motherfucker, I texted you 5 minutes ago. Where are you at? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's insane. Like, emails become this, like, instant mode of communication. If you don't watch it, you get people who are like, man, I emailed you like a fucking hour ago. Why aren't you emailing me back? Or every time that goddamn phone fucking chirps or blings or dings or does whatever, it's like, Yeah, anyways, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you off.
no,
But I remember those times, man, and there was something freeing about them. Like, I purposely leave my phone behind on a regular basis, and it trips some people out. You know, I told you that cabin adventure that we had in Telluride, and that's what tripped half of the people there out. Was like, you mean we're really not going to have phone reception? I'm really not going to be able to get on the internet and call people and do shit? Like, when they realized that we were serious, or they were serious, like, yes, you're out in the fucking middle of nowhere. There is no cell phone reception out there. You could see it really start to mess with some of their heads. It was like almost the first time that they could remember not having like that kind of access on purpose for like an extended period of time, and not be like driving through the dead zone like, hurry up, man.
It's a weird thing to think about when you sit down and really contemplate that. I started thinking about this. Well, did you see that shooting that happened at the YouTube offices?
I just heard like peripheral. I didn't see much of anything.
I mean, this chick was a fucking wackadoodle, man. I don't know all the details, but basically she walked in, shot up YouTube, and then shot herself in the chest to fucking kill herself. But so that makes me start thinking. And then, I mean, I guess she had posted a bunch of shit like, oh, she was pissed off at YouTube because she couldn't make any money. But she was just making terrible videos. It's not like she would have been making a ton of money anyways. Really, like, she was off her rocker. But see, that's what it started me thinking about all this, because, dude, so it kind of reinvigorated my hate for fucking Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
Reinvigorated my hate.
Like, dude, I think that shit is fucking us up as a species, dude. I really do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it goes into one of the rules, one of Jordan Peterson's rules is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not somebody else, right?
Yeah, not who you are, or not who someone else is today.
Right. Well, man, we're not wired to deal with all that shit, because like you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, people are only posting the great things. You know, they get these, oh, at the gym training hard, or, you know, I'm eating this and all this. Like, so
here's the best meal I've eaten all week.
Yeah,
Here's a picture of it.
Yeah. Besides that, they're stuffing fuck McDonald's down the pie hole. But then they show one great selfie where they're all posed perfect in the mirror, and then their food. Like, so you're comparing yourself to these fucking fake things.
Yeah.
And you think that's somebody's everyday normal life, and then it just fucks your perception up, dude. And that, dude, I really think that's fucking people's brains up.
Yeah, man.
Like, they don't understand it. They're like, dude, I fucking hate Facebook and Instagram, that shit. Like, it is not normal, man.
No.
It is giving people such a fucked up perspective of what the world is like, what other people are like. That is not what the fuck is going on.
No.
And, man.
And most people aren't assholes. Like, even like the fucking comments, you know.
Yeah.
People say shit on Facebook that they never say in real life.
You would never say that to me looking at me in the eyeball, man.
And it goes, you know, so one, they're acting in a way that they normally wouldn't, but it also gives people a false perspective of what reality is like. Like, no, if you were interacting with this person on a real basis, it wouldn't be like this. Like, you know, so you're getting this false perception of just like how divided and how hateful other people are based on their online personas, which is not necessarily who they really are. You know, it's like the whole virtue signaling thing that I love that phrase, man. I think, you know, Joe Rogan introduced me to it when he was talking about it, but that idea of like, yeah, there's certain things that people do within a group to signal to other people like, hey, I'm part of this group and what my status in that group is. And yeah, a lot of that the fucking social network shit just becomes like this giant virtue signaling opportunity for people. And anyways, yeah.
And I don't think people are grasping what it's doing to them. I
No,
really don't.
No, they don't.
And they don't see how they're getting manipulated by it.
No.
You know, when you post a picture
and then purposeful,
and then you're constantly fucking refreshing. How many likes did I get? How many likes did I get? You know, Jesus Christ, dude, you are getting led around by that.
Yeah.
And
they did it on purpose.
They did it on purpose. They know what they're doing.
Dude,
man.
there's a book called Hooked.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to really know the truth about this stuff, read that book. And it's actually several years old, but it basically gives you the game plan that that apps use, that you know, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. There's a specific formula that they use to get you mentally addicted, hooked to their products. It's just like the food industry, the sugar, fat, and salt. Like, there's a reason that I can't eat just one Oreo. Like, they literally engineered the goddamn things that way. Like, they hack your brain's natural way of perceiving things to make you want more of something than you normally would. And that's the same thing that happens with the apps and Facebook and all this shit. Is you have people, just like Big Food has scientists studying how do we make this shit as addictive as possible. They're doing that with the computer shit, and they are literally studying, like, okay, how do we make these as addictive as possible to basically hack your brain to make you do something more than you normally would. And most people normally would not just sit there and fucking check their phone over and over and over again unless there was something that was tricking them mentally into doing it. But on top of that, man, have you seen the Take Your Pills Netflix documentary?
The Adderall.
The Adderall, and dude, I watched that one, and that's another one that really changed my entire perspective of what's going on here. Because if you think about it, man, you've got this generation, they're basically on speed. And what do they talk about? Like, speed makes these repetitive, what would normally be boring tasks interesting. Man, I gotta tell you, man, like, I honestly don't, I find social media, cruising around on it, trying to post on it and do all that shit, it's a little boring and repetitive. You know what I mean? So, like, I find, like, the times that I'm most kind of into it is after I've got, like, a good little coffee buzz going, or, I've smoked a bowl or something, I'm kind of in this little, like, artificial zone. But once that artificial zone's worn off, it's kind of like, what the fuck am I doing here? I want to do something. I don't, like, I'm a human being. I should be moving and doing and learning and creating, not just sitting here staring at this shit. And man, you got these kids strung out on fucking Adderall and Ritalin, and it's got to be contributing to this, to the whole, to the society, the social media society, and you got people fucking strung out on speed, and you're giving them these addictive things on their phone to just geek out on, and oh, I gotta check, see how many likes I've got, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all of a sudden it makes a lot more sense. It's like, holy shit. And
it's scary.
It's scary, man.
It's really scary.
And they don't even realize it. That's the sad thing, is these kids don't even realize, like, what is going on.
Well, especially the kids. They don't know.
They don't know. They don't have any perspective on it.
This is the time they're brought up in.
Yep.
And everywhere they look, everybody's got that goddamn phone out and staring at it.
And I told you, man, like, I figured out, like, the whole, venture capital thing is these kids are strung out on Ritalin, and you got these fucking rich bastards, and a lot of them are old men, and they're making bets on these kids, and it's human capital, and they know that it's unsustainable, that these kids are working and producing at this unsustainable rate that's basically fueled by, Ritalin and competition and Adderall and all this shit, and just using them up, because they know every once in a while one of these morons has a good idea, like Uber or Facebook or Instagram, but the vast majority of them are just dumb fucks, stupid ideas that don't work out, but they're just, like, blasting through this human capital, our kids, blasting through them, and using them up, man, and kicking them out the other end, just trying to make money off of them. And it's sad. It's a crazy system. Like, when you really step back and you realize, like, what is really going on and what's really fueling it, it's insanity. It's unsustainable.
All right, that's it. I was just going to say that. It is on this unsustainable trajectory right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the precipice of this is, dude, when it's going to hit that wall and just to this fiery crash.
This is what technology, everyone's like, oh, technology is advancing at such a great rate. This is what technology is advancing on the back of. Venture capital money. 20-something-year-old kids strung out on fucking speed, working themselves literally to death. That's what's fueling all of this. It's unsustainable. So, yeah, at some point, man, the shit's going to hit the fan. It'll be interesting. There'll be a self-correction. I mean, humans in society are great with that, man. We will self-correct.
But we're only going to self-correct if we see what's going on.
It'll start affecting, you know what I mean? Like, society will start. There'll be there'll be a negative consequence on society that will create the self-correction. And like the Industrial Revolution, it was like eventually, look, having all those kids being worked to death, it started to affect society. So changes were made, and like unfortunately that's what it took. But that's what I see here, like that it will start to affect society, and it probably will be like, the kids. We will see it affecting the next generation in a way that makes us realize like, oh, fuck.
We screwed up.
This is screwed up, and we've got to like fix something. We've got to stop over-prescribing speed to our kids. We've got to reset the standards that these kids are being expected to live up to. It's funny, I'm going to a parent-teacher conference, and dude, one of my big beefs with school is homework. And, I've talked about it before, I'm like, they're just teaching these kids to just be a good little employee. And even when you go home, that it's not really your time, that it's still our time. And you have to do what we ask you to do. So this whole, like, psychological message that they're sending with it. But I realized, too, they're like, oh, it's 10 minutes of homework for each grade. And so she's in 7th grade, so that's, 70 minutes of homework, a little over an hour. Plus she's supposed to read for 20 minutes a night. Plus she's supposed to practice her saxophone for 20 minutes a night. And that's damn near 2 hours. I mean, she's 13 years old, and she's wanting to run track, and I got her doing jiu-jitsu. And it's just like, when does she get a chance to just be like a 13-year-old, But then I realized, like, dude, there's kids in her class that are, air quotes, ADD. Maybe one of them's really ADD, but, probably a lot of them are air quotes ADD that are. I realized, like, holy fuck. There's probably at least one kid in her class that's on Adderall or Ritalin.
Dude, one? I guarantee there's more than one.
Okay, but I'm
in
just
this
saying,
day and age?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? I just, like, it struck me like, holy shit. So, like, these homework standards are being, like, she's competing with these homework standards against kids who are taking speed.
They're on PEDs, basically.
Basically, yeah. It's like, well, where do you find the time? Oh, well, fucking PEDs on some level. And I'm like, oh my God, that's fucking, it's insanity. When I was thinking about it. But, so anyways.
Hurts your fucking brain when you start thinking about all this shit, dude.
It does, man.
And it'll just spiral you into this, like, mind space of negativity. Like, what is going on? Like, all right, I just got to go do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Fix the world.
Yeah, I know, man. But, just the fact that we see it, that we can try and change our reality based on it, and hopefully it changes some other people's reality too. But I don't know, I keep telling Shiloh I'm trying to shape her backstory. One day she'll have a backstory and I'll be like, man, yeah, I did this and that, and I'm like, I'm trying to shape it for you, make sure you have a good one to tell people. But
she won't realize what you're doing for her until she's 20 something. I didn't, my dad was fairly hard on me as a kid. I mean, didn't have a real fucked up childhood. He wasn't beating the shit out of me, but he set the bar fairly high. And I see you doing the same thing with Shiloh. Like, you expect she's a smart kid, and you expect a lot out of her. And that's tough when you're a kid. You don't understand what your parents are doing or why they're fucking getting on you about this or that. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And you don't realize it. And
I remember, man.
You don't realize it, dude. I'm 38 years old, and there's still the little lessons that'll pop up or things that happened that I remember getting in trouble for, this or that, and it's now making sense. Like, oh, that's why he did that. That's a tough thing. Being a kid's not easy.
No, I know.
And then with all these goddamn devices and Facebook, like, it doesn't make it any easier, man.
I know. And it's
brutal, dude.
I don't let her have Instagram and Facebook. She doesn't.
There's no reason for it.
Most of her friends do, and I'm just like, why? Once in a while we'll have the discussion.
Is that a big fight? Does she really want it?
Not really. I mean, again, I've done a good job of brainwashing her so that she thinks that I'm right most of the time. But, I mean, the thing is, like, it's not a hypocritical thing. It's not like I'm on my phone all the time and I'm asking her not to be. Like, I'm literally leading by example. Like, I don't have email on my phone. I spend so little time on my phone and doing anything with it, and 90% of that is like actually using it to communicate with someone, whether it's a text or a phone call or something. But so she sees me, it's not this hypocritical thing, and so I think it's easier for her because I practice what I preach. But No, not really. Just because it always comes down to, like, what are you going to do on it? Like, really? Like, I mean, if people really sat down and were honest with themselves, if they got off the fucking drugs, again, you throw in antidepressants. There's so many people on so many fucking drugs that make them think and act in ways that probably aren't how they would normally think and act if they weren't on these drugs. And I think it plays into the appeal of shit like social media, because if you really fucking sat someone down, you got them off all the drugs, and they sat down and injected them with truth serum, and it's like, man, what are you really getting out of that? Like, what are you really, and it's like, dude, most people, it's like nothing. I'm getting nothing. There's nothing really like positive and tangible. And even like, I check the news, I get links and learn interesting things. It's like, someone please tell me it's the new age fucking evening news. Like, really? Like, seriously, if we're going to sit here and be like, oh, watching the news on TV is fucking ridiculous because it's all just negative and gives you a negative, viewpoint and stuff. And it's like the old joke. It's like, fucking plane crashes and shootings and all this shit. But you walk outside, the fucking sky is blue and the birds are chirping. It's like, where's the shit? It's not necessarily reality. But man, you're surfing the fucking news sites on the internet, or you got your news feed. It's the same thing, right? Like, so even the stuff that people are learning on the internet, 90+% of it isn't really relative to them in any sort of immediate, like, impactful way. And it just fucking wastes time. It takes up fucking brain space. It can be spent on other shit.
Fall right into the same trap. Like when you're watching TV or the evening news, for example, you're not getting to choose what's getting let into your eyes, your ears, your brain.
Yeah.
It's getting force fed into you.
Yeah.
And so people think, well, I'm doing it on the internet, so I get to choose. But you get sucked right back into that same trap.
Right.
Because
and
you just start
more dangerous because you're choosing, so you're almost never introduced to an idea that may be contrary to what you would normally choose to. At least when you're watching the evening news, you might get some fucking dude comes on who, like, it's completely opposite of what you normally say, and you're like, fuck that guy. But at least you get exposed to it. But yeah,
the whole confirmation bias, because you're only going to websites and news outlets that tend to you tend to agree with.
Yeah.
Unless you're actively seeking out people that really challenge your thought process.
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing.
I know, man.
It just makes you feel better because you clicked instead of just sitting there watching. I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. It just, even it's like the YouTube shooting thing, right? Like I'm, again, with all sensitivity to parties involved, but outside of that, like, what did it benefit you to have known about it? What benefit to your, like, what impact? None, man.
The only benefit, it allowed me
even
to
like
talk,
the Vegas
it allowed
shooting.
me to talk about it on today's podcast.
Yeah, right. Even so, I mean, it's like, what the fuck's happening in Russia? Like, I know theoretically that, like, things, but it's like, if staying aware of stuff peripherally is one thing versus, like, man, you're just stuffing your brain full of stuff that really doesn't matter, and it's getting you hyped up because you can't control it, right? Like, I've got no control over that stuff, and so that's how people end up with this, like, victimized feeling, because you're surrounded by all of these events taking up brain space that really don't affect you and you have no control over, and you just start to feel like this, like, I don't know, like, you're just at the mercy of these forces that are outside of your control, which may be true, but that's just not a good way to fucking live your life, man.
No.
So, anyways, yeah, as people are listening to this podcast on the internet, as we rail against it, it's, again, it's a double-edged sword.
But they're choosing to hit play.
Yeah, that's true. Unless they're in, North Korea. Have you seen the fucking documentary?
Did we get any listeners in North Korea?
No, Vietnam was number 4.
They were ahead of Canada.
We
had more people listening to us from Vietnam than we do in Canada.
Yeah, or more downloads.
More downloads, anyways.
So we're hoping that Grumpy Guy doesn't mean something different in Vietnamese than it means in English.
I told you my theory. My theory is it's some Vietnamese chicks looking for an old rich white dude so they can get hooked up and get a green card. That is my theory.
That's your theory, huh?
It is. That's my whole opinion.
Isn't that like...
Grumpy Guy BJJ at gmail.com.
Where is that? Where do you get those mail order wives from? I remember seeing those things, man.
Russia was a common one. I don't know. I don't even know if it's really a real thing. It's always a joke.
No, it's a real fucking thing, bro. I knew a dude I knew a dude.
Is it a real thing?
It's a real thing. I knew a dude who got him a fucking mail order bride from Russia.
Serious.
I swear to God.
I mean, you always hear the jokes. It's funny to talk about, but I've never known anybody
Yes.
to actually go through with it.
Yes. He was a dude I knew in Hawaii. And yes.
That's awesome.
Anyways,
I did get...
it was after that, like, it was funny. It was one of those deals, like, when I knew him, he was always talking about it and, like, looking through the fucking catalogs.
They had catalogs. You know what that reminds me of? Like when you're a little kid and you get the Sears catalog and you go through and circle all the stuff you want for Christmas. That's the same idea. You get the Russian bride catalog.
I think, because this was during, we had the internet, so it may have been he was going through like the internet site or whatever, but I remember him talking about it, and then I moved away and came back to visit a few years later, and it was like, oh, where's fucking so-and-so? And they're like, oh, well... him and his fucking Russian mail order bride. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, no, he ended up like going through with it and ordering old girl. So
I did on that note. I don't know if I've shared this story before. I'm sure I've shared it with you. When I was back in '99, when I was doing my ski bum thing up in Old Snowmass,
yeah,
I was a maintenance man in one of the condos, and I was the only gringo on the maintenance crew and housekeeping crew. I mean, it's all Mexicans.
Is this when you were banging on doors with smoke detectors would go off?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's the same time frame of my life.
Okay.
But the whole housekeeping staff was all Mexican, and a lot of them were not here legally. I mean, I don't know that for a fact. Pretty good assumption. I got asked. They wanted me to marry one of their cousins. One of my buddies in the maintenance department. He had one of his cousins. She was over in housekeeping, and they wanted a green card. Dude, I got offered $5,000 to marry her. Straight up. Like, I thought they were joking at first. He's like, no, and I contemplated it, man. I was gonna do it, dude. I was 20 years old, like barely getting by, working 2 jobs. I was a maintenance man. I was a janitor. And like,
what's the statute of limitations on that bad boy?
I don't know. Like, I was looking into it. My roommate talked me out of it.
Was she cute?
Yeah, she wasn't bad looking, dude. Like, I was seriously considering it. My roommate talked me off the ledge. He's like, dude, this is not a good idea. I'm like, man, it's $5,000, like cash.
It's like a dowry, bro. It's like the old times.
Yeah.
You get paid to marry people.
And thankfully, looking back at things, it's probably a good thing I did not do it. But I almost did. I was pretty close.
That's interesting, man. I don't know that I've ever actually heard that. I may have, but
I'm sure I've told you.
I didn't know that you were that close to being
I don't know.
Mail order husband.
I don't know, like how close I was, like, but I do remember talking to my roommate about it, and he was.
It wasn't an immediate no. There was some thought.
Yeah, there was. I was looking into like, okay, how much trouble can I get into? Like, what, if I get caught, like, what does this lead to? Am I just gonna get slapped for probation? Or like. No, there's if I remember right, there was like prison time involved, and that scared me.
Right, yeah.
I was a little white boy going to prison.
Yeah.
Didn't go well for me.
So I was saying, it's probably like a certain number of years that you got to stay married before they'll let you, like, just because if you get married and then bail on it in 6 months, I think that's when
and they come checking on you, making sure you're living.
But I don't think they're just gonna like, bust in a wedding or come. You know what I mean? It's not until you try to like separate it and it starts to look fishy. I could be wrong, but I think their assumption would be like, hey, if that bastard wants to fucking take it this far, let him, man. If he's willing to run the scam that far. Like,
I don't remember all the details. I do remember the negatives outweighing the positives, and having a roommate that was a little more sensible than I was. Man, if I wouldn't have had him, though, if I would have had another meathead with me.
That's funny, dude.
If I would have had somebody else, I'd be like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, dude, $5,000.
$5,000.
Go to Vegas, baby.
Dude, I would have blown through that by the end of the ski season. 3 months later, that $5,000 would have been gone, and I would have had a Mexican wife that I hated. I would have been like a fucking Al Bundy, hating life.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm glad you avoided that.
I did avoid that.
So, all right, anyways. So, arranged marriages. Another interesting
That's another
subject
topic
for us. So, well, cool, man. I guess, I don't know.
An hour pre-show. Get into what we're actually going to talk about today, huh?
Yeah, dude. So, yeah, I did, my buddy Pete tried out class yesterday, or Wednesday.
Nice.
So, I'm going to try to get him to come in.
Who is he, a mountain biking buddy?
He's one of my mountain biking buddies. He's been working out with me for quite a while, and, I'm always bugging him about coming in and trying it. And so, yeah, the other morning he was in a spot to come in and try it. So I had him come in. It was fun. He did a class, and then we rolled a little bit. And I told him, I was like, all right, your first roll is like your first crash on a mountain bike. This is when you realize whether this is for you or not, because there's 1 of 2 reactions. You're going to get up and you're going to be like, fuck this, or you're going to be like, fuck yeah. And, you know, there's only 1 to 2 reactions. And so anyway, so he rolled and he seemed like, fuck yeah.
That's good.
Was his attitude. Yeah, he was done. He looked a little, you know, a little shell-shocked, a little wide-eyed, like, whoa, what was going on there? And, you know, because at first he's like, literally, like, he's never wrestled. He didn't have, you know, brothers or anything like that. So, you know, it's probably one of his first real physical, like, roughhousing experiences. And yeah, at first you're just sitting there like, I don't even know what to do. So I was like, hips and shoulders, dude. Hips and shoulders. Like, try and, you know, control my hips and shoulders or whatever. So he grabs both the collars on my fucking gi and just gets all stiff with them. I'm like, all right, well, controlling my shoulders, kind of. We'll go from there. But
gotta start somewhere.
Gotta start somewhere. But he did good. It's interesting, you know, getting people who've never done anything rolling or, you know, doing something like that, because you start to realize that like there is something instinctive in there. You know, like nobody's an expert at it, but somehow instinctively, you know, like I did, like he was, you know, kind of doing, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's like you start rolling with him and it's like, okay, this guy's got no frame of reference and obviously he's making a shit ton of mistakes, but there's still like a basic survival instinct that he has, that even though he's never grappled before, kicks in a little bit. And so it's like, you know, we're made for it, man. We're wired for it.
Most of us. I have come across the occasional person that like doesn't have any survival instinct.
Yeah, they just lock up. If the fear gets out,
they either lock up or they just kind of like flop.
Yeah.
You know, they're not even like, you know, like an animal, like they're not even protecting vital organs. You know, they just like roll over and show their belly.
Yeah,
like what is going on right here?
Yeah,
man? There is some people. Not everybody's ancestors.
No, I know.
The warriors.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Most people have it.
Yeah, I'd say even them, if they're given enough opportunity, they'd probably fire off 1 or 2 neurons in survival neurons. But you know, I would say, I mean, Pete, he is, you know, one of my mountain biking buddies, and he raced downhill and, you know, did some of the
so he's no stranger to athletic endeavors.
So that's the thing is, like, you know, yeah, the ability to kind of remain calm a little bit in those situations. I think that's the thing. If people have never been exposed to a situation where, you know, you kind of have to remain calm in the face of instinct, which is to, like, just do nothing or whatever. But I don't know. But it was fun. He had a good time. And then, but the good thing was after he sat, so I'm like, hey man, sit, watch for a minute. And then I came up to him again. I was like, man, you want to try another round? He's like, sure. I was like, all right, well, cool. That's a good sign, man. And he wasn't just like sitting in the corner like, fuck this, man. I'm never doing this again. So yeah, I rolled with him again. And then Kevin goes, hey, let's roll. So he rolled around with him. I guess he made him tap to side control pressure.
Sounds about right.
Pete just didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, he's like, couldn't breathe. And he's just like, but yeah, Kevin was laughing about it. And Pete was like, I didn't even know what happened, man. He's just on top of me. And next thing I know, I can't breathe. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about like.
Sounds about right.
Like Kevin. And the funnier thing is like, I'd be willing to bet that Kevin wasn't even trying to. You know, that wasn't his intention.
I would have to say with 100% certainty.
Yeah,
he's not. That wasn't his intention.
No,
I mean he was being heavy to control.
Right.
But he wasn't thinking, let's suck this guy's willpower out.
No, not at all. Like,
not
that's
at all.
Just that it wasn't intentional, but it was just funny that like
that pressure.
You know, Kevin's pressure against someone that's just got no idea what's going on. All of a sudden, it's like
he's never felt that.
Breathe.
Yeah, and it's what screws people up too. Is like if you had some 250-pound guy on you, you would expect that to happen.
Right.
Like if they were to get on top of you in a side control position and you couldn't breathe, it wouldn't screw with your mind so much. You'd be like, okay, that makes sense. I have a fucking semi-truck on top of me right now. This is hard to breathe. But you just get a normal sized guy, 160 pound guy, 150 pound guy on top of you, and all of a sudden you can't breathe.
Yeah.
Like you don't understand where that's coming from.
Right.
Like, why is this happening?
Why is this guy?
Yeah, you can't make sense of it. So then I think the panic sets in. Like, fuck, I didn't think I was gonna be drowning here, and then
Yeah. Yep. No, man. So, anyways, I'm gonna try to get him in tomorrow.
That's good.
The Grumpy Guy class and do some drilling, but see if we can get another recruit, man.
Hell yeah.
He'll be a good one. He's an engineer by trade, so he'll be like...
That's usually a good mindset for
man.
jiu-jitsu.
Him and Nate can fucking nerd out on
Engineer stuff.
engineering stuff together. Talk about force angles and stuff like that.
Submittals.
Yeah, submittals. The grappler's lift to the self-submittal.
Love you, Nate.
Oh, Arlo's back.
Oh, for how long, though?
I don't know.
Couple days.
It's okay. Enjoy him while he's here, man.
He's a good dude, man.
He is a good dude, man. He is. He's fucking... He came closer to bow and arrow choking me when we rolled than I wanted to. I was like, that motherfucker, right back where we started. Because he's the dude that
he's a good athlete,
I
man.
joke around with. I'm like, him and Nick Henney, it was my job to just get bow and arrow choked by those motherfuckers when I was a white belt. So that's when my defense became pretty good. And yeah, dude, that dude just picked up right where he fucking left off.
Yeah, dude, he's a notch or two above your average human being.
Yo,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, he isn't a normal guy.
No, man. No, not at all. He's built like a goddamn Greek god. And he's a fucking
athletic.
Beautiful human being.
Yeah.
Beautiful Arlo.
Yeah.
You know, and just athletic and got the build for it and wrestled. So he's got I know, man. He's a fun dude to roll with. So, but I did manage to get out of that bow and arrow choke. And then he threw a sloppy armbar up on me, and I came up on top, and I think I had a little bit more top control and pressure than he remembered last time we wrestled, because he wasn't able to get away from me quite as easy. So, felt pretty good about myself there. He may have just been getting tired. Who knows?
Never know.
But I know, man. Anyways, he was asking about you. So,
sure, I'll see him.
yeah. For sure.
It's good when old faces come back in.
That's right, man. You need training partners. Good training partners.
Gotta take care of them.
Yeah, exactly. Keep them encouraged. It was funny when he asked, like, what are you guys up to? Or what are you up to, James? Just, project-wise or whatever. And so I told him we had this podcast, and he didn't know. And he's like, what? You guys got a podcast? I'm like, yeah. Grumpy Guy BJJ, blah, blah, blah. And, so yeah, we talk about some different topics like beating the blue belt blues or something like that, and he goes, blue belt blues? What are the blue belt blues? And we all started laughing, and we're like, they're the reason you fucking left, asshole. It's like, maybe you should listen to that episode. It'll help you stick it out this time and get through your blue belt.
I always assumed that he stopped training me, being that he's a tattoo artist. His hands are, that's his livelihood.
Yeah.
And he's got to do, he's a hell of an artist.
Yeah.
And if he was to keep jacking his fingers
I don't
up.
even think that's part. No, he just got busy.
No, that's right. I always just assumed it was that because, as intricate as he's got to be, you can't have messed up jiu-jitsu hands. You wouldn't think.
I don't know.
But
hey,
Arlo's crazy.
we already said he's not a normal human being.
Arlo's crazy, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if he ever even thought about that.
Well, I just don't. Yeah, his hands may be immune to that stuff, So, but anyways, so he's back. Keep an eye out for him.
Keep an eye out for him.
So,
all right,
man. So we got some.
First of all,
yes,
it's the Jordan Peterson 12 Rules for Life: The Antidote to Chaos. Great book.
Yes.
If you guys have not read it yet, get off your fucking ass, order the book, read it.
Read it.
Simple as that.
Yes.
Great book.
It's a great book.
But we are going to talk about it today and run all the rules through a jiu-jitsu filter. Or how they apply to your jiu-jitsu life.
Yes. How they apply to life. So.
Yep.
So yeah, let's so we do it kind of like we did with the top 10. We'll start out and just
read the rule.
Read the rule, and one of us will take the odds, one of us will take the evens. So
sure.
So we'll let you take the odds, man.
All right, I'm an odd one.
So, all right, number 1, stand up straight with your shoulders back. Don't look like a defeated lobster is the the subtitle to this one in my book.
Okay, so how I thought about this, there was a quote that from this chapter that I plucked. To stand up straight with your shoulders back is to accept the terrible responsibility of life with your eyes wide open. I like that. I was skimming through it. I plucked that out. And just being a white belt and starting jiu-jitsu, you're doing that. If you're sticking it out. Because a lot of this rule talk about the dominance hierarchy.
Right, yeah.
Throughout all areas of nature and life. Like, it is there.
It's there.
It is there. You might not agree with it, but the dominance hierarchy doesn't give a fuck whether you agree with it or not. It is there. And if you just walk around like a defeated lobster, you're going to be at the bottom of it. In your bottom of that bucket, no mates, no good place to live, eating the scraps. Like, life's going to suck for you. So you got to stand tall, stand proud. And when you sign up to start trying jiu-jitsu, you are accepting the fact that you are at the bottom of the fucking food chain.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people come and go in jiu-jitsu, because it's not an easy thing to accept. Because you are just a punching bag for a long fucking time. And you just you got to deal with it. And you got to stand tall, stand proud, push through, and guess what? You'll move up the food chain. You'll get a little bit better scraps eventually. So that's the way I look at this rule.
Yeah.
Like I think it's important to understand that, and I forget because it's been so long since I was a white belt, and you forget that. That's how I was thinking about it. I have to respect the fact that someone coming in and starting jiu-jitsu for the first time, dude, that's not an easy thing to do. That takes a lot of courage, especially if you've never wrestled, you've never done any martial arts like your buddy Pete. That is a whole different thing. And you may come from something that you were really good at, and all of a sudden you fucking suck at this. And not only, it's not like sucking at golf or something to where like it's just a skill you have to get better at. Like, you suck at it and you are getting physically dominated by another human being. So you immediately feel your place in that dominance hierarchy. You're like, oh, I am nowhere near as cool as I thought I was.
Yeah.
So it's a little shock to people's system.
For sure. Yeah. So, no, I agree, man. I was looking at that one, because again, if you haven't read the book, he basically makes the example of how lobsters have this dominance hierarchy, and they'll get into fights from time to time, and the lobster that wins has a posture, has his head up and his shoulders back, basically, and a defeated lobster has a markedly different posture, and head down, looks like the shoulders are slouched, and it's the same thing that happens with humans, that you'll see the same behavior with their posture kind of dictating how they view themselves within the dominance hierarchy. But even beyond that was how that posture literally affects your brain chemistry. That when you have that slouch shouldered, head forward, defeated looking posture, it literally affects the amount of serotonin in your brain, and so your brain chemistry changes, and versus having that head up and your shoulders back posture. And so for me, like, one, it goes back to like the brain controls everything, right? And so like your ability to control that brain environment, little hacks like, man, stand up straight with your shoulders back. It's going to change your brain environment. It's going to change how you see things and how you view things. But I also think it speaks to that whole idea of like, what do you do with frustration, right? Like, so there's going to be that moment where you're frustrated, and it's like, if it goes in the direction of, feeding the ego in a bad way, where you're feeling sorry for yourself, you're, whatever it is, well, you go into that defeated lobster posture. But man, if you feed that frustration into an area of curiosity, especially one that comes from like a growth mindset, that like, I can figure this out. I just need to figure, out what I need to figure out. So now I'm getting curious. The frustration is leading to curiosity. Well, you're naturally going to gravitate towards that kind of head up, shoulders back posture, because the way that you view yourself is differently based on how you dealt with that frustration. So anyways, I mean, it's just kind of something we've talked about before. That's one of the big things, is how do you deal with that frustration, and your posture is an external way of letting people know how you're dealing with your frustration on an internal level, I think. So, and it goes a little bit to like fake it till you make it. I hate using that term, but there's a little bit of that like, hey man, you got your ass kicked, so there's something to, like, instead of sitting over there in the corner of the mat and just leaning over and feeling sorry for yourself, like, get the fuck up, man, head up, shoulders back, crowd posture, you know, and you know, deep breaths. It'll change brain chemistry, and it'll change how you view the situation. So yeah, both on the micro and the macro level, man, that's a big one. But you see that with people, man, that you can just see in their posture, like how they view themselves. So, but anyway, so there you go.
I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. Number. Go ahead.
Oh, no, man, no. So you got them written down over there.
Yeah, I wrote them down.
Oh, did
All
you?
the rules, yeah.
Good, man. All right. So number 2 is treat yourself like someone you are responsible for. And this was one of the more interesting chapters, I will say. Like, he went down a pretty fucking circuitous route to get back to, like, taking care of yourself. But at the heart of it is, I mean, really, it's if we tend to treat other people, especially, or like our pets, like that was the example they used, like we'll treat our pets better than we treat ourselves. And so for, probably a good example of if you had a friend who came to you and said, man, I'm thinking about, quitting jiu-jitsu, you tell them, fucking, you're an idiot. Don't quit jiu-jitsu. But you'd quit jiu-jitsu yourself. I mean, you know what I mean? But people will do that. They'll be the ones to quit, but they'd advise their friend not to. You got to take care of yourself before you can fucking really do well in life and jiu-jitsu. So I don't know, what do you got written down, man?
I thought about the same way. The way I structured it though is that self-talk and how important it is to talk to yourself in a positive way.
Yeah.
Because we all have, I've talked about this a bunch of times in the podcast, so sorry if I'm beating a dead horse, but that negative self-talk is so easy to get into that loop. Like if you have a bad day on the mat and you're just like, I fucking suck, I got my ass whooped, boom, 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 like, and it just spirals, and then it carries over the next day you're on the mat, and then you're at work and you're in a bad mood, just boom, boom, boom. You just can't get into that loop, that negative feedback loop. And you wouldn't do that to a friend of yours. Like if you had a bad day in the mat and you got your ass whooped by everybody that came through there and you were just tired, you wouldn't go over to him and be like, oh, you fucking suck today, dude. I seen you getting your ass whooped. Like, you're not going to do that. So why would you do that to yourself? Because it's not going to help your friend out or somebody you care about. So it's obviously not going to help you out. And it's easy to get into that, but you got to just snap yourself back out of that. So that's how I thought about it. Is that treating somebody like you're responsible for helping. You would never say those negative shit to someone you wanted to help improve their life. Yeah. So don't say it to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, I agree. In the book he basically touched on. I mean, really, to boil it down, the problem is no one knows what a bigger piece of shit you are than you. You know what I mean? Like, we know all of our deepest, darkest thoughts. We know all the shitty stuff we've done. And so it's easy to look at yourself and just be like, I'm a piece of shit. And, well, you're not gonna treat a piece of shit very well. But we don't see that in other people. We don't occupy the same brain space that they do, looking at themselves, seeing the same things in themselves. So we look at other people and we see them as better and more worthy to be nice to, or to take care of, as the case may be. So yeah, nobody knows how bad you suck at jiu-jitsu more than you do, but you just got to be aware that that negative self-talk is going to lead to bad stuff, because, man, that's, again, we talk about all the time that that negative self-talk isn't occupying a positive space in your brain. It's wasting energy. You could be doing stuff like drilling, your notebook. There's things that you could be doing instead that, again, if you're talking to your friend and giving them advice, you'd be like, yeah, you should be doing this. But then, people don't do it themselves. So, but yeah, I think that's that's the heart of it, man, is that negative self-talk that can definitely be part of the process. You got to watch that. So, all right.
Stop right there before we go on to the next rule. Something looks funny here to me and I don't like it. I didn't. I never stopped recording here.
I never did either. So
now we're recording on this fucking thing again. So.
Okay. All right. So we're back after a small technical break.
Coffee/pee.
Got
and
fucking
technical
retuned
issues.
And had a safety meeting with myself and feel much safer. So, all right, man. So we are on to number 3. Is that where we're at?
Number 3.
Which is make friends with people who want the best for you. I mean, that's a fucking T-ball lob or softball lob for you, man.
You know, it's such a slow pitch softball, fucking lob, wiffle ball. That it's almost too easy. Like
almost
it's too
easy.
It's too obvious. It's too easy.
So you went in a different direction?
No.
Oh, okay.
I just stuck right with it. I thought about it. You know, it's funny. I thought about it. I was like, I don't even need to elaborate on this. And then I was like, well, maybe I should. Make friends with people who want the best for you. That's really easy in the jiu-jitsu world. The jiu-jitsu, you go to a good academy, it is full of fucking awesome people, man.
Yeah.
And you're going to find your little tribe within that tribe, people you really get along with, like you and I, you know. And that's important. You form those little bonds because then you guys can drill together, you know, bounce things off each other, ideas off each other. And those end up being the people that you can just really beat the fuck out of because you trust each other.
Yeah.
You know you're not going to ever really hurt each other. No, even like you're going to look out for me better than I am and vice versa. Like, you know, point in case when you were cranking on my ankle the other day and I wasn't tapping. And I was good. I flipped the switch. I don't know why, but I flipped the switch and I'm like, he can pop my fucking foot. I don't care. And you recognize that because you were putting a little heat on it, but you hadn't gone fucking turbo destructo yet. And you saw the fact that Rob's being an idiot right now. Like, I have a fucking super deep grip on this. I haven't really started fucking deadlifting the shit out of his leg yet. And he's still not tapping. I'll just transition. You know, so you looked out for me better than I did. I know that. And that's why that's one of a million examples why it's important to find, you know, make friends with people who want the best for you.
Yeah.
Because you can train hard with it. You're just it's gonna make it more fun. You're gonna improve at a faster rate. Like there's a million of fucking benefits.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, jiu-jitsu is such a partner dependent sport. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's almost impossible to do it without
almost. It is impossible to get good at.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can do some solo drills or whatever. So I mean, you know, you could argue that you could, but I'm just saying, like, realistically, you need a partner. You need at least one other body to practice technique against. And, you know, realistically, you need multiple bodies at multiple skill levels. It goes back to the Frank Shamrock quote from A Fighter's Mind that you need 3 kinds of people in your life to excel. You need someone better than you to show you what's possible. You need someone the same as you that you can, you know, progress with, and you need someone worse than you that you can bring up. And so, you know, you need these people in your jiu-jitsu life. And so, finding those people that want the best for you, and vice versa, you know, you want the best for them is vital to the journey. I mean, I'll say, like, you know, when I do my meditation, one of the things I'm grateful for, and the words I use in my mind are my jiu-jitsu brothers and sisters, because that's how I look at you guys. And I'm like, you know, the people that want the best for me, because, like, you know, you guys push me mentally and physically in ways that, like, no one else can challenge me in ways that no one else can. And without that, man, like, my life would not be the same. And so having those kind of people in your life that want the best for you, and especially in a jiu-jitsu sense, is really important. So yeah, it's really self-evident with jiu-jitsu. And that's the cool thing is, you know, after a while, jiu-jitsu has a way of scrubbing out the assholes. So, you know, usually people who've been doing this for a while want the best for the people around them. So it's a good group of people that you find that happens kind of naturally. So,
yep.
Yeah, man.
That's it.
All right.
Number 4.
Yeah, number 4. Compare yourself with who you were yesterday, not with who someone else is today. And man, you touched on this when we were talking about the social media.
My social
stuff,
media rant.
Right. But, man, it ties into jiu-jitsu. You know, I mean, man, jiu-jitsu is there are people checking that stuff out on social media. And so, you know, you can get caught up in seeing what, you know, this guy's doing, and great training today, and I just got done with my strength training, and look at this perfect, you know, diet that I'm eating. And yeah, get caught up comparing yourself to someone else, or you know, we talk about like competition results and promotions. You know, sometimes those things you can look at someone else and be like, you know, they got promoted, you know, why am I not getting promoted? And it's like, you know, why don't compare yourself with them? You don't know, just worry about yourself. The old Pimenta quote that we love to run: if everybody would just worry about themselves, everybody would get better. So that's it, man. I think that's really kind of the best way to sum it up, is just worry about yourself and look at where you were yesterday and try and improve on that person. I got my Musashi mug that on it had, somebody got for me that said something about like, you know, today is victory over yourself of yesterday, and tomorrow is victory over a lesser foe. You know, like that's every day you should be a little bit better than the person that you were yesterday. And if that's your focus, then, you know, good things will happen to you. So, but yeah, that's how I see it.
I like it, and I will try to refrain from going down that social media rabbit hole again. And just to build on that, because I really like everything you said, is there's more than one in jiu-jitsu, or in life, but like in jiu-jitsu, there's always more than like one game to succeed or fail at. What I mean is, like, if you have somebody in your gym that always just kicks the fuck out of you, and it's frustrating, you don't like training with them.
Sorry. When you say kick the fuck out of me, I'm like, well, tell him to stop kicking you when you're rolling, man.
Well, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But someone that just smashes
beating up
you,
on and smashing on you. I know.
Has your number, man.
I know.
You might, you compare yourself to that person, like, oh, they're so much better than me, blah, blah. Well, you have to give yourself little fights within that fight to succeed at, so to speak. Okay, this person is always getting mount on me from this position. Well, you know what? Today, my fucking victory today is I am getting the fuck out of there. Even if it only happens once, I am getting out of there. Like, if my life depends on it, I don't care what else happens in any other roles that day. So if you find, and that's a way you're being better than you were yesterday or the last time you rolled with that person. Like, you gave yourself, okay, this is my fight. And so if you break it down to the micro like that, you give yourself those little victories. And it just boils down to you're comparing to how you succeeded or failed in that little microcosm, that little situation.
Yeah.
So that's how I broke it down. Because what you said was basically the way I was thinking about it.
Yeah. So, no, man, I totally agree. It's funny. I don't know why Arlo just popped in my head. I'm like, because that motherfucker takes a couple years off of training and shows up and just starts fucking, Yeah, I will say, to my credit, I put up a little bit better fight than I did last time. So I feel like I've progressed. But dude, like I said, dude, he got way deeper on that bow and arrow choke than I was like, what the fuck is this? There was a moment where I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This dude's been training for 2 days again, and he's gonna choke me out. And but it'd be real easy, to get frustrated looking at that, but it's like, man, I gotta compare myself to where I was yesterday, not to where, a guy like Arlo is today, because you just got no control over something like that. So I like that, you can just giving yourself those little micro fights, because that's what it was. I came out of it, I was like, well, he didn't finish the choke. You know what I mean? So you better than you were? I'm better than I was yesterday, but that, but that was the, anyways, that's a good point too. Not getting caught up within those, people. So, all right, number 5. I like this one. Don't let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. So, as someone with children, Rob, what do you say about this one?
Being that I don't have children.
Uncle Rob.
Being that I don't have children, and I hesitate to give parenting advice. The way I thought about this was from a jiu-jitsu parent standpoint, like a higher belt, molding the lower belts. And again, I plucked a quote from within that chapter that it is the primary duty of parents to make their children socially desirable.
Yes.
And that's really what us higher belts are doing with our lower belts.
Yeah.
You're teaching them the rules of the road, and how to navigate, what's acceptable, what's unacceptable. And not only just, behavior on the mat and in the academy, but, good jiu-jitsu itself. Because you're trying to make them socially desirable. You take a white belt and you turn them into, you're teaching them good jiu-jitsu, like, then they're fun to train with and they're safe to train with and everybody wants to train with them. So then it just increases their jiu-jitsu career. They're not the ones sitting on the side of the mat when it comes time to roll, and no one is seeking them out to train with. So
man,
it's as simple. That's how I looked at it.
I totally agree. I've talked about this a couple times about how the big takeaway that I took from this chapter was how people will self-select eventually who they hang out with and who they interact with. Every social circle, has that element, and so learning how to socialize properly, helps you in a lot of ways because it's going to increase your opportunities. People are going to want to hang out with you. Better people are going to want to hang out with you. So, he was kind of talking about in that life way, but that's exactly how it applies on the mat too. Like, and we've seen it. And anyone who's trained for a while, you think about it, you've seen this happen where the group self-selected somebody out because they couldn't figure it out. They weren't able to figure out that socialization that you needed to in jiu-jitsu, so they were either just going too hard all the time or whatever it was. That's probably like one of the big ones, especially for white belts, is just doing stupid shit when you roll and just going 110% and just putting people in bad spots. So but I think that the message there, though, like you're saying, the higher belts, is understanding that, man, you got to talk to people early with that, and because it's easier to squash that behavior sooner rather than later. And assuming that people are gonna figure it out on their own, it's not true. It's taking the easy way out. It's easier in the moment that way to just be like, I'll let it go, or not really say anything. They'll figure it out eventually. But a lot of people don't. So I think that just having that conversation with somebody early, as soon as you see it, like, hey man, volume knob, let me introduce you to this concept. 60% when you're rolling, 100% is not a technique. Just basic stuff like that. And I think that once somebody's been introduced to that and they still continue to not pay attention and stuff like that, like, that's all right. There's nothing you can do. Like, they're gonna get self-selected out. But don't let your children roll like assholes, and they're gonna get they'll get self-selected out of the group. Yeah, and if you're one of the children, man, don't roll like an asshole. Be aware of, like, that was probably one of the big things I did, because I knew, just coming from mountain biking, like, there's just when you come into a new group or a new area to ride, there's just a basic way to socialize, to get it, with other people in a way that doesn't come across as being an asshole, and lets people know, like, hey, I'm a good guy, and I'm a good rider, but I'm not here to, like, try and show you up. So there was a lot of that too with jiu-jitsu, and it's like, man, if you don't kind of figure that out, if you don't pay attention and pick up on some of those cues, that may be the reason that people aren't asking you to roll, or you're kind of getting left as the last person to drill with and stuff like that. So anyways, assess it on both ends. But that was a good one, man. I like that one, man, especially having kids, because you get stuck. It's you're anyways, read the book. If you got kids, you need to read the damn book. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, and I want to touch on that real quick, because you made the point to, it's easier to have that conversation early on than it is to let it progress.
Yeah.
It's easier to have a little earlier, slightly uncomfortable conversation later down the road. And I'm guilty of that too. For example of, one, we kind of started this podcast because of that. Because there's a lot of these conversations that need to be had within the gym. And so we started doing this podcast, and we can just kind of point new people to listen to it. Like, hey, just go listen to this.
Yeah.
And Amelia called me out on that the other day because back one of our very early episodes, we said.
By the way, Amelia, the point of this podcast is not to find shit to call us out on at the gym. She's called me out on shit too. So anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But one of our early episodes, we mentioned, if you're a guy or girl, don't come to jiu-jitsu practice bathed in perfume or cologne. It's not respectful to your partners because you just get mouthfuls of it, and it's just terrible. I brought this up. I brought this up on more than one episode, and so Amelia asked me that. She's like, yeah, I used to put on perfume before I came to class all the time because I thought I was being nice. And she's like, how come you never told me not to do it? And it was exactly because I was like, well, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. She's like, well, I heard it on the podcast. I was like, well, I accomplished my task. I was like, but I didn't man up and like just pull her out to the side and be like, hey, you need to chill out on the perfume. So I got called out on like not having her earlier on.
Yeah.
Slightly uncomfortable conversation. It's the same thing, falls into the same idea. And it's not always easy to have a conversation, especially if you don't really know the person.
Right. Yeah.
It's easy for you and I to have uncomfortable conversations, because we know each other.
Right.
But if you don't you've only known the person for a few times on the mat, like it's...
Yeah.
It gets a little
tough.
awkward sometimes,
It is.
But you just have to just swallow that awkwardness, the awkwardness, and fucking run with it,
No, I agree. I think, and we're getting a little off subject, but this is too where I think having kind of well-established rules and making sure that people get them or whatever, because that's what I used to do at my gym, is we had a little list of like, okay, here's some basic stuff that, I'd always tell people that the problem is when I assumed that something was obvious and it wasn't. And then all of a sudden there's a problem. So some of the stuff may seem obvious, but it's better for me to just put it out there than assume it. And so things like put your weights away. You know what I mean? Like you think it is, but some people, they'd come into a private training facility and you'd be surprised how many people think that like their trainer was there to be their butler, their weight butler or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, he'll try and get them put away, but it's still your responsibility. So outlining some basic stuff like that, like, and having something you can give to people, like, hey man, put like the shoes thing, like where to wear your shoes, especially like the bathroom and getting off the mat. Like that's one of those can be a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation with somebody that you don't even know their fucking name, and you just see them walking out of the bathroom, and it's like, man, you gotta have those you gotta wear your shoes. Like that's one that I know that we'll have with people, but yeah, just having them laid out so that they know helps. So, all right, cool. Let's move on to number 6. Ooh, yeah. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. And I like how he said perfect. Like, do you think he said perfect knowing that the true ideal of perfection is that it's unachievable? So on some level, just shut the fuck up? Because, like, you're never going to be able to criticize the world? Or do you think he was just, like, setting kind of a really high standard? Saying like, look, it's not just kind of in order. It's like really like have a really high standard for yourself before you start looking out at other people.
The latter.
That's
how I looked at it. I did think about that, but I was like, man, that's getting. I don't think as an author he's putting that much responsibility on his reader. Does that make sense?
On which one? What do you mean?
If he was to frame it the first way.
Okay. If
he was to say, be perfect before you criticize the world. So in essence, he's saying don't criticize the world. I would have to assume that he's meaning not that. I don't know though. It's good though. It's good
because that's the Musashi definition of perfection, while still like encouraging you to pursue perfection, while still saying that pursuit of perfection is still all that there is, even though that you know that you'll never achieve it. Perfection is something that you can achieve. So I don't know. So I maybe that influence when I see that perfect, someone say perfect, I'm like, okay. Like, how do you mean this? Like, do you mean the Musashi perfect, or do you mean like just like a really high standard of perfect?
You're pursuing that,
yeah.
And so in pursuit of that super high standard, you're gonna get pretty fucking good.
Right? Yeah. So
we'll run with that.
So anyway,
We'll
so we'll go with
operate
the
from
second
that.
one, or maybe you can go from the first one. Am I the evens? Is this me going first?
You were the evens, yes.
Yeah, I am.
Yes.
So I just questioned myself. So yeah, I don't know. I think that you can definitely go with the second one, but I like the first one better myself.
I can see that.
Just because it goes back to the, if everybody worries about themselves, everybody would get better, and that if you in your own pursuit of perfection, if that's your sole focus, then the other stuff doesn't matter. Like, why are you worrying about the world and what the world thinks and what the world's doing and shit like that? If, why is it occupying brain space if you haven't achieved your fucking goal yet? And so anyways, I like to look at it that way. And I mean, from the jiu-jitsu sense, it's just, man, worry about like your problems and your game and what your thing is. It like that's really all there is to worry about. And we've talked about before, like the belts. It's not like when you achieve a higher belt you get access to another book of moves. It's everything's available to you now, and so that should be your sole focus, and the other shit will just happen, and then you don't find yourself like, what the fuck is there to criticize? And what are you going to criticize in the jiu-jitsu world? You know what I mean? Like, we talked about that. It's easy because you can be like, oh, my coach or my team or this or that. And then they talk to Rob, who drove fucking uphill in the snow both ways to fucking go to a jiu-jitsu class when there was nothing for less than 4 hours away. And so then it's like, well, what are you going to criticize in the jiu-jitsu world? Because like, there's so much that you need to worry about yourself. So anyways, that's kind of how I looked at it.
Initially, so when you brought that up, the two different ways you could look at that rule, I intellectually, I kind of went towards the second one. Yeah. Like strive for perfection. But then the 2 bullet points I wrote on this rule had nothing to do with criticizing anybody. It was all about striving for that perfection, and you're never gonna achieve it. So in essence, you're not ever gonna be able to criticize anybody. And as what I said is, you alluded to this, is ownership. Own where you are at in your BJJ career journey path or whatever. It's solely on you. Like, it's where you are at is all due to the decisions and the shit you have done. If you're not as good at jiu-jitsu as you want to be, it's not because of your team. It's not because of your coach. It's on you. And so you got to own up to it. Yeah. And so that was the first thing I thought about. And the second thing he had mentioned in that chapter was, stop doing the stupid shit you're doing and stop doing it now. In pursuit of that perfection. Because just like you said earlier, way earlier in our podcast, how much of a shitty person you are deep down. You know what I mean? No one else knows. Yeah. No one else knows all the dumb shit you've done. They might know a lot, but they don't know everything.
No, thank God.
And you are the only one that knows that, and you are the only one that knows how you behave when no one else is around, and what stupid fucking habits you have, and what is hindering your progress. And you have to be really honest with yourself and assess those things. And just fucking stop doing them. Yeah. No, I agree, man. There's something that people, you can do, whether it's in jiu-jitsu or life or whatever, man. But there's something that you can do, right? Whether it's me, fucking rigor mortis guard. Still get it in there. Oh, my buddy Pete. It was fucking hilarious, man. I actually cracked a joke, so I'm rolling with him. And he fucking hits a good rigor mortis guard. And it's a move. I started laughing. I was like, I told Kevin, I was like, look, man, he's a natural. He's already got rigor mortis guard down. And then he's asking me, he's like, yeah, did Rob ask you if you guys were doing privates together? Because it seems like he's been getting better at it. And it's like, whatever, buddy. Thanks, Kevin. We love you, man. We do love you, brother. But anyways, so, yeah, I think that's it. I think we covered that. Yeah. Number 7. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. I went with take care of your future self and delay that gratification. Yeah, manipulate the future. Always manipulate the future. And what I mean in the jiu-jitsu world by that is A couple things. Manipulating the future by developing new techniques and being okay with taking those ass whoopings along that path instead of just reverting back to your A game all the time because you're not helping your future self. If you're doing that cognitively, like, hey, I need to sharpen this sword right now, that's cool. But if you are doing it because you're trying some new stuff and you're getting fucked up and you revert back, you're not helping your future self. That's how I thought about that.
Yeah, man. No, I think that's good. Actually got me thinking while you're saying that. It's a little off topic, but I read like well, no, it's just because it's interesting with that whole thing. Like, I read what Danaher had a post talking about like the high percentage moves, and he's talking about like most of the wins that his guys have been with 2 moves, like inside and outside heel hooks, and so he focuses like on those. Like his dudes are fucking killers at those, and so anyways, it's just interesting, you know, again, that like it seems like his theory of jiu-jitsu is find the areas of weakness and figure out how to funnel people to those positions and then just become masters of those positions. So it's not like becoming really good at all positions. It's becoming really, 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 really good at a small handful of positions and just understanding very intimately like how to almost force every situation into those positions. And so anyways, it's just an interesting juxtaposition against the develop a well-rounded game. They're not contradicting each other, because I agree with that. You know, you need to be like, if you're competing at a really high level, you can't be great at everything. You just need to have, let's say, just say a half a dozen techniques or whatever, or from each position. We'll just say from each position, you need to have like 1 or 2 go-to moves. That's it. That's not a huge catalog of techniques, man. That's, you know, a half dozen techniques or whatever, and those need to be fucking fire. And so you do have to spend a lot of time doing those. But as what I'm talking about in like practice is, you have to intelligently, like, okay, today's practice I am doing those. Okay, today's practice I'm working on the weaker part of the funnel, the big part of the funnel, to get me into those. Yeah. My more refined killer zone of that funnel. And when you're working on that bigger part of the funnel, getting people down into that, you're going to get fucked up, and it's really easier to go back to here. And so when I'm talking about like when you're in practice and you go in with the conscious game plan to where I am working on this escape, which isn't my strong escape, or I'm working on this position, isn't my strong position. But as soon as you get fucked up there, as soon as you get tired there, you revert back to your A1. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So it's not a juxtaposition. It's not bitching out when you go in with a game plan to practice. Like, I am working on this today. I'm going to get better at this today. And when things get tired and it's not working out for you, you're going back to the other one. You got to commit to that path. Like, hey, I might get fucked up today, but this is what I'm going to work on. Yeah. That I guess that's more what I'm alluding to. I'm not saying, because the other way is really important. Yeah, yeah. Does that make sense? No, I know. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. And I'm sure I'd just be really interested to like actually sit down and talk to old Danaher and ask him kind of some of these things, because it is like, you know, how do you balance like the competition? Because like you're saying, it's like with competition, like, you need that like killer A++++ game, but then there is the idea of being a martial artist, being, you know, well-rounded. The idea, you know, Musashi talks about, you can't really ever tell where the enemy is gonna force you, and so being too reliant on one position and one method of attack is a detriment. And so being able to flow and be open to different possibilities is extremely important. So I don't know. I just find it to be it's one of the more interesting thought puzzles or just things, you know, that get me thinking, is like balancing.
See, I don't think as much of I don't see it as much of a thought puzzle, I think, as you do. I really think it just comes down to you need to know where you're at in your jiu-jitsu, where you want to take it, and okay, if I really need to sharpen these swords, let's say I have 10 training sessions per week. Well, I'm gonna spend, if I need to sharpen these swords leading up to a competition, 7 of these training sessions I am doing my A game. The other 3, I am experimenting a little bit, and you need to go in and stick with that plan. And during those 3, don't let yourself bitch out and go back to your fucking, your strong suit. Put yourself in shitty positions. But if you don't have a competition coming up, then I flip it a little bit. Like, okay, I'm gonna allow myself 3 ego cushioning training sessions per week, and then the other 7, I'm gonna accept the fact I might get my ass whooped.
Yeah.
So I don't, it just all depends on what's the goal. Just do the math. Like, okay, I need to spend more time here, but I don't know.
Yeah, I like how you're like, it's not much of a thought puzzle for me. Here's this really exact formula that I've figured out, but it's not much of a thought puzzle for me.
Because I have the solution.
I know. That's why I'm like, wait a minute, man. You've got like this formula. But anyways, yeah, no, I mean that's it. That's it. But But anyways, yeah, no, I think that the going back to the pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. That's exactly it. I think the idea of manipulating your future self is one of those. It's kind of at that core of that. So whether it comes down to getting enough sleep, eating right, not skipping training sessions, like you're saying, like focusing on what not bitching out during training and focusing on what you need to focus on. Those are things that are going to future self's going to be pumped on. It's hilarious. Now that I've thought about this, dude, I think about this stuff. I'm like, man, what's future self going to think about this decision? And if I'm sitting in bed and I'm like, oh, I want to sleep for like another 15 minutes, and I'm like, oh, future self's not going to be happy about that. So that idea of like, hey man, do what's right in the moment, not what's easy, and future self will thank you for it, is kind of at the core of it. So, anyways,
did he use the term future self in this book? Is that where we got this from? I can't remember.
I don't know if he used that exact term. He may have. He very well may have.
I couldn't remember when I was writing these notes down. I wrote future self. I was like, I know you said it there a few weeks back. And I can't remember if I said you. I heard it from you first. I read it in this book. But anyways, it's relevant.
Yeah. I've got no idea. I mean, he obviously, the idea came from his whatever he did say. Right. But that idea of manipulating the future. And what's future self going to think about it? All right, number 8. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Man, that's I think that in jiu-jitsu, that pertains most to yourself. And just being honest with yourself, like that's, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those. It's so self-evident. It's kind of hard to like. Okay, I can try and explain it, but the
rule sums it up in itself.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I mean, it's definitely a way. I think that the thing I found interesting about this chapter was this is where he introduced the idea that like telling the truth or not lying is maybe this is why I put tell the truth or at least don't lie, because he got in that argument about what is truth with Sam Harris. So he's like, okay, maybe I can't nail down what is truth, but I can at least do my best to not lie based on my best understanding of the situation. But this is where he was talking about. Oh crap! I lost the. Hold on. Oh, I do this shit. Lost my train of thought with the tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Fuck! I don't know. What's yours? Go. It'll come back to me.
Go! Hurry up!
Jesus.
So I thought the same thing with jiu-jitsu. It is more about the self-talk, talking to yourself. Don't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it applies to it. Again, that rule just sums it up, man. Just tell the truth, don't lie. And something I believe he talked about it in this chapter. I don't know, maybe I just fucking pulled this out of my ass. Is, telling the truth or not lying. Like, you want to make that a habit. So when you don't know what to do, your default is to tell the truth.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I'm not sure. No. That's actually was it, because that goes back to, I remember what it is. That, like, telling the truth it's not a choice, it's a way of seeing the world. And so, like, you know, and what that means is, like, okay, you'll see, obviously that opportunity to lie or not be honest is there, but you seeing it as a viable option for you to take is a fundamentally different way of seeing the world, as knowing it's there, but it's just not even being an option. Like, you just know that I can't do that. That's not the choice that I can make. So, like, your world looks differently. I think this is where he introduced that concept of, like, what you aim at determines what you see. Because if your aim is to not lie, then it determines how you see the world, and it determines what you see in a different way than if you're just trying to, like, get through situations as easily as possible, which a lot of times involves not being completely truthful about stuff. And so yeah, that idea, like, it's not a choice, it's a way of seeing the world. Like, choosing to do the right thing is a fundamentally different thing than that really not needing to be a choice in the first place, because, like you said, like, your default mode is just to tell the truth and do the right thing in the first place. So that's, I think, a really important concept for people to understand, both on a personal level and also, you know, jiu-jitsu, which is, I think that's one of the reasons, like, we have such a hard time sometimes understanding the mindset of people who are, like, you know, feeling sorry for themselves and quit, because we can't see, our aim doesn't allow us to see the same thing that they saw that allowed quitting to be a viable option. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it really just doesn't even register to me. I can kind of understand, but, like, I can't really understand. So yeah, no, it's that was the idea, man. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie, because it's important. So there you go. I remember my point.
That's good.
I
You
know,
got really
man.
nervous there for a
I
minute.
know. I was panicking. I was like, "Oh, it was such a good one," because I use it all the time. But that idea of what you aim at determines what you see. Because, you know, jiu-jitsu, life, everything, man, it's so important. So, all right, number 9. Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't.
It's a good rule. I like it. From jiu-jitsu, the easiest way to, like, the most stripped down version of it is, if you see someone doing a technique and your knee-jerk reaction might be like, what in the fuck are you doing? Like, in a derogatory sense, like, that is just super fucked up. You're better off asking, like, okay, why are you doing it like that? And they may have a rationale, like, okay, I'm doing it like this because of blah, blah, blah. It'd be cool. I didn't see it like that. And that's it. You can just leave it at that. That's how I thought about this. Because I've done that to people. I've had it done to me. Just where, because they're doing something a certain way, and where I would go next, it just doesn't make sense. It'd be like, man, then why are you doing that? I don't understand. Like, what roadblock did you run into that would lead you into doing that certain way? But there might be a rationale behind it. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes you ask somebody why they're doing something, and they don't have a logical fucking explanation for it. Then you can be like, okay, that is wrong. You don't know more than I do in this situation.
Yeah.
Let's do it like this. So that's how I thought about this one.
Yeah. Man, 2 things come to mind with this one. One, the idea of trying to approach things to prove yourself wrong versus trying to prove yourself right. You know, we talked about this with Anti-Fragile, and how he talks about, like, good science is about trying to prove yourself wrong. And so a lot of people enter conversations from that perspective, where they're coming into them and they're like, you know, whether it's just a conversation with someone in everyday life, or whether, like you're saying, like you're talking to someone in, you know, jiu-jitsu, and the approach is, I'm trying to look for agreement or reinforce what I think I already know, not I'm trying to prove myself wrong. And so you approach the conversation differently. And the second thing is Musashi quote, which is that, you know, a warrior must leave himself open to the possibility of other possibilities. And so no matter how good you think you are and how much you got it figured out, I mean, this is coming from a dude who, you know, killed 60 plus men in fucking armed combat oftentimes using a wooden sword against dudes with 3-foot razor blades. And he's saying you need to leave yourself open to the possibility of other possibilities, because you never know what, you know, once you close yourself off to that, once you think you know it all and you close yourself off, you stop growing. There's no more opportunities for growth at that point. And so yeah, I think that's you know, important to keep in mind and make sure that you're continuing to grow. And I think it's easy to you know, say like, oh, you know, and how to put this, like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Like, how you treat one person is how you treat everyone. Like, if you think that you're gonna, you know, act one way towards somebody because you know that they don't know anything, but you're gonna act a different way towards someone else because you think that they do know something, you're fooling yourself. That's not true. You're really not, you know. So I think you know, I think Jesus said something about how you treat the least of these is how you treat me, you know, talking about the kids and the fucking poor and all that stuff. And so it's that same idea, like, you know, how approaching everyone with that mindset is going to make sure that you approach the right people with that mindset, and it'll keep you open to those growth opportunities that most people just don't have because they're just trying to prove themselves right all the time. So
this rule led me down the thought process. It has a lot to do with ego. You know, like you said, instead of trying to prove yourself wrong or see where somebody else might be interpreting something, you're always just trying to search your ideas and you make yourself feel better. You know, and I think that has a lot to do with that ego.
Yeah,
that's kind of what this rule said to me is, yeah, swallow that pride.
Yep.
You don't know everything.
Don't know everything, man. Got to leave yourself open to the possibility.
The world does not revolve around me, James. I wish so most days I think it does, but no. Unfortunately, it fucking does not.
No, man, it does not.
Yeah.
So, all right. Number 10, be precise in your speech. Ooh, I like this one. I'm glad I got this one, man. Words have power. And you need to be careful with the words that you use and you give power to, both verbally and in your mind. You know, the words that you use manifest the reality that you see. And so, you know, making sure that you're carefully choosing those words is going to help manipulate the reality that you're seeing as well. And so, I mean, everything from a jiu-jitsu sense, I talked about this on how to be coachable, which is like, don't reinterpret my coaching cues. Like, coaching cues have power. The words that you use and the way that you say them and the order that you say them have power. So as a coach, you need to be precise in your speech when you're coaching something. The words that you're using in your head as you're doing the technique and as you're drilling it and practicing it are very important. You need to be very precise in your speech, in the words that you're using in your head as well. And just on a bigger level too, we've talked about the self-talk, that the negative self-talk and how easy that can be. But that's, again, just goes back to this rule, like, the words that you're using are a manifestation of the reality that you see. And so you have to be careful of reinforcing a negative reality that's not true, both, you know, on the mat and off the mat. So but yeah, man, words have power. You got to be really, really careful which words you give power to.
They do have a lot of power. And I have an example of that, you know, from our conversation yesterday. So when we talked earlier in the podcast, how I called you up, said, hey, what are we talking about? Blah, blah, blah. And then I called you back, said, hey, let's talk about the 12 rules. And initially I said to you, yeah, let's do a jiu-jitsu version of Jordan Peterson's book. I was like, but I don't think I can put something together by tomorrow. I was like, let's do this episode next week. and I could tell right away, you were like, fuck this guy. We can do it tomorrow. And you didn't say anything. Like, you didn't disagree with me right away, but I could just tell by your pause or whatever it was. I could tell that I was like, all right. And so I remember saying this, and it fucking bothered me. First I was like, okay, I'll accept the challenge. I'll get it done. I was like, then I said the words, all right, I can slap some shit together by tomorrow. And when I hung up the phone, I was like, well, I don't want to just slap something. Like, it bothered me that I said that because that implied that I was just going to do like a half-assed job coming into this, like not preparing. And that fucking bothered me all day that I said it like that. And I don't know why I said it like that. It was just, didn't put a lot of thought into it, but I wasn't being precise in my speech. Because those words have power. If I wouldn't have let that bother me, I would be like, yeah, fuck it, I'll slap something together. Like when I got home last night at 10 o'clock, I would have been like, no, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. I'm not going to sit down and crack this book open and fucking spend an hour writing notes. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I said I'm going to slap something together. I read this book, let's just shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
And I didn't allow myself to do that. But those words have power.
They do, man. They do.
So.
Yeah. No, they do. I don't think people really understand it. So they got their head full of fucking. That's the problem with social media, right? Is these words are being put in your fucking head, these images, and you're not always choosing them. It's not like reading a book or listening to a podcast or an audiobook or something where you're choosing it. It's like you're letting someone else's priorities and someone else's speech and shit fill your head. So, anyways, it's important to think about. All right, number 11. This is funny. The vision that came to mind when I read this one, the Jiu-Jitsu version.
Oh.
Do not bother children when they are skateboarding.
This is a good rule. I've said that for every rule. Sorry. Fucking. Anyways. I do that kind of shit.
I was gonna say
I did it good on the last rule, but I've done it like every other one. So
I wanted to throw that out there.
You need to call me out on that.
Which
shit,
one
dude.
do you not agree with? That's the one, or do you not like? You're like, oh, I like that rule. That's a good rule.
I know, dude. I catch myself. I caught myself like 2 rules ago. Like, say, don't say that again, and I made it, and then I got to this one and I fucking did it again. God damn it. Anyways, there's none of them that aren't good. So fuck, I don't know why.
I know.
It's kind of like or no. It's like me buying time to think about shit.
Yeah,
something.
It's age old tactic, man. That's why Homer's Odyssey and Iliad repeated itself over and over. They say it was an opportunity because it was originally an oral story, so that's why they always had like these big long names for Odysseus the fleet-footed or whatever, and they would. You'd notice they'd repeat these phrases periodically throughout the book, and they say that it was probably to give the speaker a chance to arrange in his head what he was going to say, because he knew these things. He didn't have to think while he was saying those things, so he could arrange it. So it's a human thing, man, and like I said, it's funny. In oral tradition, they would actually have tactics to allow people to that opportunity, so we weren't putting stupid shit like and that's a great rule or whatever in there. So anyways, it's normal, dude. My point is completely normal.
Well, thank you for kicking me and then picking me back up.
Some bro science.
So don't bother children when they are skateboarding. The way he talked about it is, they're not out there trying to be safe. When you're or you're doing jiu-jitsu, let's talk about jiu-jitsu sense. When you get 2 white belts beating the fuck out of each other.
That is exactly the vision that came to mind.
That's what I thought too. Is you're like, once you teach people the basic etiquette and what's safe and unsafe as long as you let them know the risk involved, you can just let the white belt on white belt violence continue. Let it ensue, because they are attempting to become competent, and once you become competent, then that is the safest you will be, is being competent at something.
Yeah. And
you have to go through that period of danger to become competent. You can't just nerf the fucking world and expect everybody to come out on the other side a good person.
Yeah.
They got to go through that dangerous shit. So yeah. Encourage the white belt on white belt violence.
That is hilarious, because that is exactly the vision that I came to mind. Mine was like, do not bother white belts when they are
beating the fuck out
of each other. Well, obviously, if it's
to a certain extent.
But yeah, no, that idea of just people are gonna have to go through that. The trying to gain that competency, drive some sort of order out of chaos, and it's just part of the
the process, and people crave it. They want it. That's one of the reasons that people love jiu-jitsu. You know, it's like instinctively we want a challenge like that, so that we are forced into these semi-dangerous situations that force us to gain competency at something. It's part of who we are.
We need that struggle.
We need it, man. Yeah. We need it. So yeah, I think that, obviously you got to make sure people aren't hurting themselves. But yeah, it was funny. I thought of that, which for the most part, I think that's why people get better, is the jiu-jitsu world's pretty good about just letting fucking, like if there's any group of people who just have no problem with children skateboarding, both on figuratively and literally, man, it's jiu-jitsu people, man. Like we love that shit. I mean, it's just kind of part of the culture. So anyways, but yeah, for a lot of our culture, that's why we're so like, people like us are drawn together, because and we feel like the rest of the culture out there is like outsiders, because like you said, we feel like we live in this nerfed culture where everybody's trying to take all the hard edges off of everything and protect everybody from even like feeling bad, much less getting physically hurt. And it's just such a foreign concept to guys like us. So
we talked about this back in our like getting out of your comfort zone episode. It's the same idea. As a species, as an animal, we need that struggle. That's why all these Tough Mudders and these Spartan races are popular, because people are stuffed in a goddamn cubicle all day, filling out their fucking TPS reports, and they're ready to snap. And so they need something on the weekend.
Yeah,
they need that discomfort. A lot of us do need that discomfort, that struggle. And that's what I think this rule is talking a lot about.
Type 2 fun.
Yeah.
I finally got it was funny, man. The guy, Mark, the guy who was one of the head guys at TVA, he kept saying that, type 1 fun, type 2 fun. He never explained it, he would say it, and all of a sudden I was like, I remember you talking about like type 1 and type 2 fun. So
type 2, for those of you who don't remember, is type 2 is not fun in the moment.
Right.
But your future self will look back and say,
self will look back and
that was worth doing.
Like a Tough Mudder.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yes, yeah, so I agree. All right, don't bother children when they are skateboarding. Number 12. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Really, the point of this one was to just enjoy the little moments in life that make life cool. Like I think back when I was a kid, and it's like, everything was seemed like everything was cool. Just out in the grass would find bugs and shit, and climbing trees, and everything was new and everything was cool. And it's easy as an adult to just kind of like forget, like, man, if you walk around and you just think about, like, dude, just how fucking wild, like, just look outside and, like, a tree, right, blowing in the wind, you got this invisible gas on this ball of rock in space that's moving around and making these leaves move. I mean, it's like, if you really think about it, like, if you don't take it for granted, it's a fucking trip. It's really insane. It's insane, the stuff that we take for granted on a daily basis, even if it's just your dog, or your family or whatever. And so, kind of the point was like, man, when you come across a cat or a dog on the street, give it a pet, because it's a moment to kind of like connect with something else, and in the world, and like, it's this little moment that you can enjoy. And I think the same thing with jiu-jitsu, man, is it's easy to just get like caught up in the grind and not like just kind of take a minute to just sit there. Man, I do this all the time, man, is, like between rounds, and just like take a second to just sit there and enjoy like this fucking moment, like how cool it is, this moment in time that we have with the people that we have, and the music's playing, and all my favorite people are here on the mat, and I just got done with a fucking hard-ass round with Kevin, and I got you lined up next, and it's just, it's just fucking awesome. But, you got to take the time to smell the roses, so to speak, and if you don't, man, the journey can pass you by, because, man, trust me, like, you if you stick with this for a while, like, I mean, Rob will attest, eventually you're going to have a black belt. Like, and the journey's gonna have gone by, you know. And if you didn't enjoy it, if you didn't take the moment to enjoy being a white belt, to enjoy being a blue belt, to like enjoy those moments along the way, and understand that, like, man, they're like, you know, they're gonna be gone, and if you don't enjoy them now, they're just gonna be fucking gone. So, anyways, I don't know. That's how I took it. I think it's
that's how I took the chapters. Being present, and that is one of the biggest draws to jiu-jitsu for me, because, you know, lots of time, I'm not good at being present. When I'm at work, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do when I get home. When I'm at home, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do when I'm at training, or when I'm going to go back to work. Like, just being in that moment, it's not easy to do, but when I'm on the mat, it is pretty easy for me to do. I can get lost in it, and I love it, man. When I'm drilling, I can zoom right in, man. Like, how does my big toe feel? You know, how's my grip on this pant right now? Oh, like, I can get this finger in there. Like, just these little things. Like, how's this grip? Where's my toe? Like, how am I breathing? Like, I can get so involved in that one little moment, and that's hard to do. But with an activity like jiu-jitsu, man, you're only there for a couple hours at a time. Like, just be in it. Don't worry about what you're going to do afterwards. Don't worry about what you're going to go eat. Don't worry about what chores you have to do, or you got to go to the grocery store, or whatever the fuck it is. Like, just be right there. And I've said this before to, you know, people. Man, when I'm really in that moment wrestling, dude, there could be a fucking nuclear war outside. The world could crumble. And I wouldn't know until that timer went off. And then I see the smoke, like, oh, something bad happened. And you don't always get into that zone when you're wrestling, but, dude, a lot of times I do. And it is a beautiful thing. And that's why I think a big part of why I always say jiu-jitsu makes the world right for me. Because it's like that moving meditation for me. There's nothing else going on in my life at that time. I am strictly trying not to get strangled, or trying to strangle somebody. And all I'm thinking about is where this limb is and how I'm breathing. And, man, it's such a cool thing, just being in that moment. Yeah. It's hard to do in our day-to-day life.
No, it is.
And jiu-jitsu helps me build that habit, because I find myself doing that. Like, I was the other day at work, I was waiting for this customer to show up, and I'm at the base of this mountain. Dude, it's a beautiful day.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful day. And I just sit out there, dude, and I was just looking at this mountain, and I think, dude, it doesn't even seem real, man. And when this customer came up, I was still just sitting there chilling. And they came up to get their stuff, and I'm like, what's up, man?
Yeah.
And then they could tell I was just sitting there just hanging, just looking at the mountain. I was like, dude, it doesn't even seem real. It feels like I'm in a cartoon or something right now. There's like this huge fucking mountain right in front of me, man. Blue sky, snow on top. Like, you take the moment just to take that in. And you don't do that all the time. And that's cool. And you develop that muscle from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. No, I agree, man.
Like I mentioned to you, like, I think we have, right now in particular, we have this awesome vibe at our gym. And it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, in between rounds. Same thing. I just got done a fucking hard round with somebody, and I'm breathing, I'm sweating, and I'm sitting down, and I look up, and you're over there bobbing your head in a good mood, and everybody is like, I just sit there, and I just took it all in. It's only a minute in between rounds, but I took, 20 seconds, and I just kind of took it all in real quick. I'm like, man, this is fucking cool. This moment in time right here, you're not going to replicate that exactly. Yeah. And unless you stop and enjoy it, if you're just thinking about, like, oh man, this next round's going to be tough, I better do this. Like, no. Stop. Yeah. Stop, pet the cat. And enjoy it.
Enjoy it for a minute. Yeah. No, man, that's it. It's funny you mentioned that, because I kept thinking that in Telluride. I could be walking around in Telluride, and I kept having to remind myself, like, dude, look up. And like, take this in. Like, this is crazy. It's easy to take it for granted. When you're there every day. But yeah, man, smell the roses. But that jiu-jitsu, that's a super good point, because I hadn't really thought about that. But yeah, jiu-jitsu helps kind of build that awareness and that muscle, so that you're doing it more in your everyday life. So that's a good point, man. Good point for sure. So that was it. That was the 12th rule, man.
And guess what? Rule number 12. That's a good rule.
That was a good one.
I had to say it. I said it for every other fucking rule. Might as well throw it in on the last one.
One of them wasn't a good rule. Let me see. Which one wasn't a good rule? No, they were all good rules. They were all good. I liked it, man. Yeah. It's funny. A lot of them were kind of like a lot of them mold together. I think if you could sum it up, if everybody just worried about themselves, everybody would get better. That seems to be a reoccurring theme with a lot of that.
Yep.
That stuff, man. But yeah. So there you go. Any other words of wisdom?
Nope.
Parting
We're
ways.
train today. I'm looking forward.
I know. I can't.
Train at noon. So you're not gonna train it all day. You're not gonna
I
come
don't
over
know,
match
man.
night or
This
anything.
calf is fucking bugging me.
Pretty jacked up, huh?
Yeah, I couldn't take any compression on it. If somebody pushed on it or touched it, like
It'd be done.
I couldn't do that. So
Man, you better chill out.
yeah, it's really
Ice it and binge watch Netflix.
Jesus Christ, dude. I can't find anything to watch on Netflix. So, anyways, cool. We're right on. Well, I guess that's it. You said we're.
I'm gonna record an outro.
You're doing
so
an outro, so I'm not
gonna-
not doing nothing.
No, we don't have to talk about where to sign up. Any
Making
of that
our
fucking shit.
job easier. So yeah, just stay tuned to find out how to get a hold of us. But besides that, I guess we'll wrap this episode up.
Let's go train.
Okay, man. Let's go
Cool.
train.
See you.
See you guys.
Thank you all for listening. You can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. It really does help and will allow us to keep putting out episodes. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, hit us up at grumpyguybjj@gmail.com. Also, go to our website, grumpyguybjj.com, and get signed up for podcast updates and get our free BJJ Improvement Starter Kit. That's it for now. So get on the mat, train hard, and talk to you all next week.
Down clown with a permanent frown. A hermit now, boom. Doggy stool, foggy, cool, got a froggy outside Molly dude. Melancholy Daisy Duke, hanging by the lace of their shoes. No trace of the tools, shaped into face, fuck the rules. Snooze, you lose. One eye always open, in times two, no clue. But soon a brief monsoon might give you a view to choose. Stay tuned, include, won't conclude. To the end is near beware, there's consequences for what you do. To me, demons, a devil of many levels. I keep on feeding for several of them rebels. Me, myself, and I. Me, myself, and I.